Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Surprise Jab Podcast. I'm your host, Zach Ruger, surprising you with new topics every single weekend, jabbing you with your daily dose of UFC. And we are back with another episode today. And on today's episode, we will be predicting all the matchups for UFC Vegas 95, doing a little preview of all the fights going down. There's only 10 now. It's a pretty weak card, I can't lie. It is a pretty weak card, but nonetheless, we'll be checking in, dropping our predictions, and seeing what's going down this Saturday in the UFC. Also on today's episode, I'm so excited for this. Your surprise topic is a full book review of Rich Dad Poor Dad. Guys, this is one of the craziest books I've ever read. I feel this book is going to change my life. It's changed my mindset, and I am ready to achieve wealth and become just the greatest human being ever. So excited to dive into that. That'll be the second to last thing that we dive into as well. We'll be looking at 10 new things in pop culture. I mean, there's a lot going on in the TV, movie world. Got to cover that. 10 new things in pop culture as well. Looking at some new UFC fights, as well as doing a Verdict Q+A. Of course, every week I pose a question to the Verdict MMA app universe, and all my MMA fans get back to me with a question I ask. They respond to it. And this week was, what will the UFC 307 main event be? So I'm excited to dive into that and see what everyone answered with, as well as looking at a different MMA page's predictions for what it could be. So excited to dive into all that. And without a doubt, let's not waste any time, guys. Let's get right on into it. And first off, I want to say I have had an amazing day. It's currently Wednesday, August 7th. Of course, if no one knows, I am an intern this summer. I'm an intern with a packaging company, Rapid Packaging, that is in Champlin, Minnesota. And I recently was able to go on a prospecting day in person with one of our salesmen, and it was absolutely amazing. I had a great time. I learned lots of stuff, and I was working on my networking. I was networking with some guys. One of them is actually like best friends with the guy who started the Unreal like hockey clothing, like the clothing brand Unreal. Absolutely crazy. That guy is such a beauty, and his dad, who is a millionaire, runs a company, is absolutely so cool as well. I'm going to try and work on my networking. Super exciting stuff going on. But aside from my life, in the UFC realm of things, there are also a lot of exciting things going on. First off, we have some fight announcements, which I am absolutely pumped about, if you're asking me. Last time we checked in, I mean, we had a lot of different announcements going on, specifically related to UFC 308. Aside from UFC 308, we actually have a new main event that has been announced. This one for the Apex, unfortunately, UFC Apex 96, going down August 24th. The number 5 middleweight in the world, Jared the Killer Gorilla Cannonier, takes on Kyle the Natural Barallo, who's ranked number 12. 5 versus 12. What a different what a crazy matchmaking thing right here. I'm very happy. Kyle Barallo is 16-1, 6-0 in the UFC, and I believe he's on a 15 or 14 fight winning streak. It might be 15. It's absolutely incredible. He just picked up the biggest win of his career this year, TKOing Paul Craig in round number 2. Also holds wins over Armin Petrosyan and Michael Okajacek. Kyle Barallo is as legit as they come, and he'll have to prove himself against the number 5 middleweight in the world, Jared Killer Gorilla Cannonier, coming off a shocking loss to Nazarene Imavov, which I think we can all agree was kind of an early stoppage, but before that, beat Marvin Vettori, pieced him up pretty good. Holds a win over the former middleweight champion Sean Strickland, also holds a win over one of the greatest middleweights of all time, Anderson Silva. This is a legit matchup, okay? This is a legit matchup in the middleweight division. This is one of those Apex main events where I'm actually going to tune in. I might be at the Minnesota State Fair when that's going on. If it's the weekend, I think it is August 24th when I'm going, but nonetheless, I will definitely be tuning in for this. Jared Cannonier is more of a striker, and Kyle Barallo has been showing some great improvements in his striking, getting some knockouts, but at the same time, you're taking on the Killer Gorilla. I mean, he is a killer for a reason. Jared Cannonier has hands of steel. He's been knocking out boys left and right. If I'm Kyle Barallo, I'm trying to take Jared Cannonier down and submit him. So we'll have to see what transpires there, but I'm very excited for that matchup, and we'll see what happens with it. A very light matchup announced next, this one in the women's strawweight division, as Jessica Penne is back against Elise Reed, October 19th at UFC Vegas 99. Jessica Penne, 3-5 in the UFC, 14-7 overall. Her biggest win is probably over either Karolina Kowalski or Lupi Godinez. This is pretty much make or break it for her. She's entering probably the latter part of her career. She is now 41 years old. That's absolutely crazy to me, if you ask me. And she takes on the 32-year-old, that is Elise Reed, who holds wins over Jasmine Jasudavicius and Corey McKenna. She's 3-4 in the UFC, 7-4 overall. Both these women need a win or they'll be kicked out of the UFC, so this is make or break it. We'll see this on the prelims most likely for UFC Vegas 99, but I'm more intrigued to see what UFC Vegas 100 is. I hope they do something good. I hope they bring like all the greatest Apex fighters over the last like 4 years to UFC Vegas 100. I doubt they will, but it would be very exciting if they chose to do that. Two other fights that the UFC has decided to bless us with. First off, our first fight for UFC 309 at Madison Square Garden in New York for November 16th. That's right, UFC 309 has its first fight, this one in the middleweight division, as the former middleweight champion Chris Weidman is back in action. The 40-year-old returns. I mean, he just picked up a win over, oh gosh, who did he beat? Who did Chris Weidman beat last time out? I honestly can't remember. Brad Tavares. Was it Brad Tavares that Chris Weidman? No, he lost to Brad Tavares. Was it Bruno Silva that Chris Weidman beat? I can't even remember who he beat last, but nonetheless, Chris Weidman back in action. He takes on the other middleweight, Eric Anders. Eric Anders, 16-8 overall, 8-8 in the UFC. I mean, this is a perfect opportunity to stay or go. Holds wins over Brendan Allen and Gerald Meerschaert. You know what? Eric Anders, happy to have you here. This will be a competitive matchup. Both of these guys are more of grapplers, if you ask me, over anything. I see them more as grapplers. But honestly, I'm a little perplexed as to who Chris Weidman was able to pick up a win over. Didn't he get a TKO? Was it really Bruno Silva, if I'm thinking correctly? This happened on March 30th of this year, if I'm recalling it correctly, at UFC Atlantic City. Chris Weidman, if we go to the UFC stats page, UFC Fight Night, Aaron Blanchfield versus Manny Fiorot, which was a pretty brutal fight night, if you ask me. That was actually the one thing I remember from that is the fact Joaquin Buckley barely beat Nursultan Ruzabov in a close matchup, and also the fact that Vicente Luque pretty much sold his fight against Joaquin Buckley, but it was Bruno Silva. Wow. Bruno Silva, you absolutely suck if Chris Weidman is out here almost TKOing you. But he's back in action at UFC 309. Exciting stuff. Might as well ride with the All-American Chris Weidman. And the final fight announced today, this one for UFC 308 on the prelims for UFC 308 going down in Abu Dhabi, October 26th. Abu Magomedov is back 2-2 in the UFC. He's coming off of a win. Finally, I think he used his grappling in it. I honestly can't remember who Abu Magomedov last beat. It was not impressive, but he's back in the win column, 26-6 overall. Actually holds wins over Sabah Sow and Dustin Stolfus. Dustin Stolfus he knocked out in 19 seconds, and Sabah Sow won the PFL for the welterweight division. He takes on Bruno the Hulk Ferreira, who's 12-1 professionally, 3-1 in the UFC. Knockout wins over Gregory Rodriguez, Dustin Stolfus, and Phil Hawes. He is a killer. This is a battle of chins in this one. And honestly, when it comes down to it, I might ride with Bruno the Hulk Ferreira. I mean, I'm going to be honest. That dude, when I saw him most recently knock out Dustin Stolfus with a spinning back elbow, that made me realize that he's absolutely legit. Nabus hasn't amounted to much. I mean, he's been TKO'd by Sean Strickland, outgrappled by Kyle Barallo. He's got a lot of work to do. We'll see what he can cook up. But yeah, that fight's going down at UFC 308. Other than that, not too much. I think we've covered all the fights that are going down at UFC 308, some at UFC 307. But in reference, I should say, I was about to say in retrospect, but I don't know if that's the correct grammatical term. Retrospect, representative, I don't know what word I'm searching for, but in terms of UFC 307, that matchup, that card I should say, is going down October 5th. It is the first event of October, and the one awkward thing with this card is the fact we don't really have a main event. So what I decided to do, okay, every week I pose a question to the Verdict MMA universe. Verdict is an app. It's an MMA app where you can drop your predictions, vote live on rounds for PFL events, UFC events. And I posed a question, who will be the main event of UFC 307 with the announcement that Ito Pira versus Max Holloway is going to be the main event of UFC 308. And I asked the community, they responded, and then MMA Theory on Instagram also uploaded a bunch of different options. So we're going to go through them, kind of talk about what the people are thinking, what could be the main event, what, will be the main event, and kind of see what's going on. But honestly, one quick note before that, speaking of the PFL, Francis Ngannou's return is set. The former UFC heavyweight champion is set to take on the current PFL heavyweight champion, Renan Ferreira, October 19th in Saudi Arabia. This is a crazy matchup. I mean, Francis Ngannou hasn't had an MMA matchup since 2022 January. Hasn't gotten a win since, gosh, I don't even know the last time Francis Ngannou. I think it was the Shogun fight. I mean, Francis Ngannou went 0-2 in boxing. So I'll be interested to see Francis Ngannou return to combat sports, but Renan Ferreira has been an absolute beast in the PFL. I'm a little nervous for his abilities. But in terms of our Verdict MMA post, I asked the community, what will the main event of UFC 307 now be with Max Holloway and Topira announced for UFC 308? Jay's 2006 said, it better not be Pennington and Pena. So Julian Pena is somehow the number one contender for the Women's Bantamweight Championship and should be taking on your current Women's Bantamweight Champion, Hawkwale Pennington, at UFC 307. That is presumed to be the co-main event, in my opinion, but that has no strength to it. I mean, Julia Pena hasn't won since 2021, and Hawkwale Pennington is not an exciting fighter. She hasn't gotten a finish in years. Multiple years. I'd almost say a decade if I'm being overzealous. Sugar Sean on Verdict Q+A said, Pennington, Pena, sadly. And it's looking like that. I mean, October 5th is looming. I don't know what other fights they can do personally. I've seen some people suggest Charles Oliveira versus Arman Tsarukyan for an interim lightweight championship belt. And it's a shame we might get an interim title shot as an excuse to even have this event take place. Because if they go Pena and Pennington, then no one will watch this event. The right hook on Verdict Q+A says, Pennington, Pena, and Jones versus Miocic is my guess. Jones versus Miocic, I really like the optimism of the right hook. But the unfortunate thing about that's the username I'm saying for these guys, the right hook. Jones versus Miocic, the thing about that is that is going down at UFC 309 at Madison Square Garden. There's no way they do that in Utah for UFC 307. There's no way. And John Jones versus Stipe is going to be a massive event. I don't think anyone really cares about the actual fight. They care about what happens afterwards when John Jones wins and we see if he retires or if he accepts the fact he'll have to fight John Bones Jones. So I'm excited for that one. And finally, Max Holloway fan said, Alex could probably save the day, but wouldn't be surprised if he takes a little more time off. They'll probably stack this card due to having a women's main event. And you're not wrong, Max Holloway fan. Alex Pereira, him versus now not Magomed Ankalaev. I don't even know who now. They're probably saving him for maybe January or December even. And he's also dealing with accusations he raped a woman, and it's some OnlyFans chick begging for attention. I'm sorry, Alex Pereira, you have to deal with this pest in your world. But Alex Pereira will probably be taking on the winner of Rakic and Magomed. He could be taking on, Adesanya if he wins. There's a lot of options for Alex Pereira. I'll be curious to see what direction the UFC goes in. In terms of other UFC 307 main events, we have some suggestions from MMA Theory. The first one being Tom Aspinall versus Halton Almeida for the interim heavyweight championship. I mean, Tom Aspinall finished Curtis Blades in a minute exactly, took no damage. Halton Almeida just beat Alexander Romanov. He's number 7 in the rankings. I would love for that fight to happen. And if Tom Aspinall wins, it's just another fight on his record. I think people are considering Tom Aspinall the actual heavyweight champion, and this would just be another title defense in a lot of people's opinion. So we'll have to see. Another one, Bilal Muhammad versus Shavkat Rakhmonov. The UFC is known for kind of pushing fighters to take their fights earlier than they should. And Bilal versus Shavkat is confirmed to be next, just about verbally. But Bilal's calling him out, Shavkat's calling Bilal out. And I don't know if this fight is really going to happen this soon. I know a lot of people were thinking November, January, December, really. But if the UFC is really desperate, they could say, hey, we'll pay you a bunch of money. Please fight October 5th. And they might do it. A third option suggested by MMA Theory is Alexander Pantoja versus the new UFC signee, former Rizin, which is a Asian promotion, bantamweight champion, Kai Asakura. Kai Asakura is an absolute killer. He has sold out events by himself in the Asian circuit, and him versus Pantoja would be an absolutely massive fight if it does happen. I don't know if they're going to give Kai Asakura the title shot with his first fight, or he's going to be taking on a Brandon Moreno, a Brandon Ravel, and Amir Albazi. We'll have to see, but if that's the case, I would probably tune into that. The fourth option, Zhang Weili versus Tatiana Suarez. They stacked 2 women's title fights on the card. 2 is always better than 1, and Zhang Weili versus Tatiana Suarez would be a much better main event. Zhang Weili is super dominant. Tatiana Suarez undefeated, 2 finishes since returning. That's one option you could do. And some lesser ones, some non-title options, if you decide to somehow convince us that having a title fight as the co-main event and having a non-title fight as the main event could be the option. The first one, Charles Oliveira, Colby Covington. That sells a lot of pay-per-views. Everyone loves Charles. Everyone hates Colby. That's an option. I just don't know if the UFC is going to do a non-title fight over a women's title fight. So that fight would be at 170, though. Charles Oliveira moving up in weight. Another one, this one at 155, Charles Oliveira versus Volkanovski. They both want that fight. That is an exciting fight. Both two former champions in their respective divisions. That could be an option. You never know. We'd have to see. Another one, this one I think could be for an interim belt. Devson Figueiredo, Petr Yan. I mean, you could even have this as the co-main event to entice it a bit more. That fight is probably next nonetheless. I don't know if we're going to force on UFC 305, but Figueiredo versus Yan, that fight should happen. The winner gets a title shot. Second to last, Kamaru Usman versus Ian Gary. Jack Del Maline is not healthy yet. Usman doesn't have a fight. Ian Gary was calling out Colby Covington. I would still love that fight. But you still got Usman, and Usman's a tougher test than Colby Covington, and if you can't beat Usman, you won't beat Belal. So there's a fight you could do. And the final one, Arnold Allen versus Josh Emmett. I mean, all of these I could see for interim title shots. It's hard to convince the average fan like me that these guys could be deserving of an interim title shot. But at this point, I'll take whatever I can get, because at this rate, we're not even going to have UFC 305. It's an absolute disaster, but the Verdict MMA community, the Instagram MMA community, they're working their magic. They're coming up with ideas, and in due time, we will see what will happen. So there's a little Verdict Q&A and a UFC 307 guessing game for what the main event will be, if you will. Here's something a little fun for you guys. 10 new things in the pop culture realm. 10 new updates, honestly, in the pop culture realm when it comes to TV shows, movies, stuff like that. We do this every episode, check in with stuff, so kicking us off. I mean, there's a lot of fun stuff going on, but Warner Bros. Discovery just revealed that its TV networks are worth $9.1 billion less than they originally thought. This means they've had a net loss of $10 billion in quarter two of 2024. And Warner Bros. Discovery, look, I'm going to tell you, you go woke, you go broke, okay? When you stop appealing to your main audience, when you keep charging more every month, every year, it adds up and people don't want to watch it. There's so many free things out there. Okay, DVDs are a big thing. Just watching regular TV is a big thing. People are getting to a point where they're like, we don't want to pay $16 a month just to watch TV. Okay, we can buy cable and get unlimited channels, all right? So people are assessing what they're actually doing, and that's affecting these TV businesses. So we'll have to see what happens. Number 2, Steve Martin says he's declined to play Tim Waltz on SNL. He said, Lorne, I'm not an impressionist. You need someone who can really nail the guy. I was picked because I have gray hair and glasses. Not wrong. Not wrong. Even though Steve Martin kind of looks like Tim Waltz, and by the way, not a huge Tim Waltz fan myself. He's not really done the best job of running Minnesota. I would generally like to speak to him and ask him why I have to pay more on my taxes. I would just generally be curious why me, someone who's not in a high tax bracket, is paying more. I kind of know now from what we're going to talk about in a book later on the episode. But, I mean, Steve Martin roasting him, I would love to see that. Number 3, Sean Levy says Professor X return for Deadpool and Wolverine was never discussed or considered. Would have loved a Professor X return, but it was overdone in the Multiverse of Madness, and he also had an amazing conclusion in Logan, whenever that film came out, 2017, and there's enough cameos in Deadpool and Wolverine, so I'm very glad Sean Levy decided not to go with that. Number 4, Christopher Nolan's Interstellar will now re-release in theaters on December 6th for the film's 10th anniversary. It will be shown in 70mm IMAX. Never really seen the full Interstellar movie, but the fact they're re-releasing it shows that they're just hungry for a money grab when you can watch this film for free at home. I will definitely have to get around to watching this, but also watching this on the big screen would be pretty freaking cool, I can't lie, so I'm very excited for that. Number 5, Deadpool and Wolverine will pass 900 million worldwide tonight, August 7th, Wednesday, only a few days until the film hits 1 billion. The film is that good. Okay, I want you all to know the hype is real. This film is hilarious. It has action. It has heart. Go watch this, and it is all deserved of all its money. It's about to hit 1 billion, and hopefully they make a 4th movie, all right? Hopefully they make a 4th Deadpool movie, and I think Wolverine and Deadpool are kind of tied together, okay? I think they're a buddy cops, if you will, going on missions. Those two are just so entertaining. Hugh Jackman, Ryan Reynolds are amazing, amazing actors. Like honestly, they've done such a good job. I'm very excited to see where they go from here. Number 6, Epic Games has announced that items in future Fortnite Battle Passes might be offered for purchase later. Items may be available in the Fortnite item shop 18 plus months after the Battle Pass expires. I finally outgrew Fortnite. I haven't played it in months, and I'm not interested. It's such a money grab at this point. It has transfixed kids. It's taken them from going outside. And as someone who was kind of addicted, if you will, to playing Fortnite, I played it all the time with all my buddies, which we had great times on it. I mean, it kept us from really engaging in person. I think you really need to have some accountability there. And most people aren't. They're going to be like, oh, it's okay to stay inside and play video games all day. No, get outside, touch some grass, play some ball, do something like that. And the fact that they're just going to be putting more money in, hey, you can buy this with your own money. It's a joke, if you ask me. And Epic Games has amassed so much money in such a short period of time. I think it has gone to their heads. Gone to their heads, in my opinion. Number 7, John Cena tells us what's next for his acting career after announcing his retirement from the WWE. Of course, 2025 is his finale campaign, his Kobe Bryant finale campaign. I'm so pumped for it, his Tom Brady retirement tour. It's going to be awesome. He said, I don't pursue things. I just try to be aware of the opportunities that could come my way. With WWE, it's time to close that chapter, as I'll be 48 next year. And I mean, dude is jacked. Dude is ripped. He's funny. I hope he wins some titles in his final run. And whatever John Cena decides to go with, I'm here for. He's recently in a new movie with Awkwafina called Jackpot. It's on Amazon Prime. Amazon Prime has been starring him in a bunch of their shows. I'll be interested to see what John Cena does next. I'm a huge John Cena fan. Love John Cena. I don't know about stripping naked for the Emmys, though, or the Oscars, whatever. That's kind of weird. But other than that, in the WWE, he is amazing. Number 8, Disney Plus will be introducing a continuous playlist. These will include seasonal content, preschool education collection, epic stories, a collection of action-packed stories from Marvel and Star Wars, throwbacks, collection for nostalgic pop culture and content, and real life, a lineup of traditional documentaries, biopics, and true crime. Disney Plus is trying to distinct themselves from their competitors. We'll see how it goes. There are some shows on pretty much every network that I think people want to watch at some point in time, and I think that's kind of what's good about variety. But at the same time, there's a monopolization of these different streaming devices, and in about 10 to 20 years, there's only going to be one service where you pay $100 a year to get all of these shows. I just have a feeling the monopolization will continue to take place. Coming in at number 9, 25 years ago, The Sixth Sense and The Iron Giant were released in theaters. The Iron Giant, one of my favorite films as a kid. It creeped me out. It scared me. It excited me. I also want to rewatch that movie. And The Sixth Sense, that's a movie I gotta get around to watching. I've heard it's a cult classic, if you will. A lot of good moments in it, and it's just regarded as one of the better ones. Bruce Willis, happy to see him in performances before, the unfortunate inevitability that he's going to lose his ability to speak, which has already kicked in. It's nice to appreciate movies like The Sixth Sense, which he was able to star in. And our final news, number 10 of our top 10 new updates, new things in pop culture. Jenna Ortega says Wednesday Season 2 will be a little bit more horror-inspired. We're doing this thing now where Wednesday just kind of appears. She's a little bit of a jump scare herself. I love the first season of Wednesday. It teased me. It had mystery. It had great characters, great arcs. I loved it. I'm excited to see Wednesday Season 2. And by the way, Wednesday took over the internet. Everyone was in on the Jenna Ortega hype. I'm very curious to see what they do with Season 2. We'll have to see what transpires, guys. We'll have to see what transpires. But as we all know, pop culture continues to evolve. Big things continue to take place. And Jenna Ortega is taking over as one of the better stars in today's realm. And something that I've been recently reading is how to become the own star in your own realm, how to become wealthy, how to achieve wealth, and how to not be poor, okay? How to provide for your family, and how to give yourself and your loved ones a life that you desire and that they desire. And the key to that is this book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Guys, Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert T. Kiyosaki is an amazing book. This is the key, I believe, to achieving financial freedom. I am so juiced to talk to you about this. I want you guys to know I took a lot of notes. But at the same time, I kind of paused. I did not take as many notes as the last book, You're a Badass at Making Money by Jen Sincero, and even some of the books before that, because there's just so much in this book I could make a whole podcast about. That's like 4 hours long about the entire book itself. So this is sort of a surface level analysis. I took good quotes, I took good statements, In all reality, you have to read this yourself, reread it 3 times over, if I'm being honest, to completely get everything you're getting out of it. And I know for a fact I'm going to be rereading this. I have a lot of more books on my radar. I recently got The Art of Seduction by Robert Greene, The Law of Human Nature by Robert Greene. I have so many books on my reading repertoire, and The Rich Dad Poor Dad is just going to be a book I'm going to be reading over and over and over again. So, super excited for that. Let's dive right into it. This is my official review. Also looking at pretty much every chapter, every part of this book, if you will, on a surface level for Rich Dad, Poor Dad by the man with $100 million in assets, Robert T. Kiyosaki, an amazing human being. To kick off Robert's book, I mean, he already starts off by suggesting the next book you should read is The Rich Are Getting Richer. So this is a very, very smart, I was going to say massive manipulator, but that's just not the case. Robert is a very smart marketer, is the words I was looking for, as he's already promoting a new book that he's already written. After you're done reading this one, and honestly, the rich are getting richer. It is very true, but the real question is, do you want to be the part of the rich, or do you want to be part of the poor who are getting caught behind? So we kicked off this book with a little introduction, and this book is not for the liberals, the weak-minded, the people who don't like to be held accountable. You know, this is for people who want to better themselves, get rich, gather assets, and learn how to not be a poor dad, but be a rich dad, from learning from someone who learned from their rich dad and a poor dad. So, kicking off the introduction, broke is temporary, poor is eternal. You know, if you choose to be poor, you will always be poor. If you choose to be broke, it'll only be temporary, because when you're broke, you actually have nothing. You know, when you're poor, you have little. Broke is nothing, all right? There's only one way to go when you're broke, and that's up. When you're poor, then you just really choose to be poor. And it's tough to hear that. And when people hear that, they already are raising objections, already hearing this and going, Zach, shut up, you're stupid. Hey, read Robert Kiyosaki's book, or Kiyosaki, my bad, and you will understand where he is coming from. He says you are poor not by the amount of money you earn, but instead by your thoughts and actions. It's very true. Right there is the key. Poor people refuse to change their situation. I know for a fact that I'm not a poor person, because as I've been growing up in the world, I know my value, I know my worth, and I know that punching a clock every single day for a boss to make money for someone else in a company is not where I want to be. I want to be the main man. I want to be calling the shots. That's where I want to be. He kicks it off also with, I don't work for money, money works for me. And that is the key, all right? Don't work for money, make money work for you. Now, obviously, to get money, all right, you got to do a little work, all right? It's tough. The statement is very bland. It can be interpreted in a lot of ways, but as simply as it is, don't work for money, money work for you, all right? And say it, all right? Make it a mantra. I don't work for money, money works for me, all right? And then when you get your money, you'll make it work for you, which you will learn how to do by reading this book. Finally, it ends with a lovely poem, and is The Road Not Taken by Robert Frost, and is very beautiful, and I wonder if I actually have it right here. I bought this book, all right? I kid you not. I love this book so much, I decided to just straight up buy it. Let me find this poem for you guys to actually read live on air on the podcast, all right? This is by Robert Frost, and it is a lesson in his book, The Road Not Taken. The Road Not Taken. 2 roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both, and be one traveler, long I stood, and looked down one as far as I could, to where it bent in the undergrowth, then took the other as just as fair, and having perhaps the better claim, because it was grassy, and wanted wear. Though as for that the passing there had worn them really about the same, and both that morning equally lay. In leaves no step had trod in black, oh, I kept the first for another day. Yet knowing how way leads on to way, I doubted if I could ever come back. I shall be telling this with a sigh, somewhere ages and ages hence. 2 roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by. That has made all the difference. And that was confusing. Rereading it back again is so confusing. But what he is simply saying is that there are 2 paths to take. He took the correct one. Looking back, the other one would have not led anywhere. Okay, and that's kind of the key to this book, right? There are 2 paths you can take, choosing today to take that path, and you just have to be the one to go that path, okay? And we kick the book off. Lesson 1, Chapter 1. There are a couple lessons he goes about. There's also some ways to get started. But the essence of Rich Dad, Poor Dad Let me explain this to you. So basically the entire book, a quick little summary for you, is Robert Kiyosaki's lessons from his poor dad and his rich dad. All right, he had a best friend named Mike. Growing up in Hawaii, they were both kind of not poor, but they weren't as rich as the others. And as he came to learn that Mike's dad had actually been really working hard, and he was soon to be a rich man. And he is Robert's rich dad. Okay, it is his best buddy's dad. That is his rich dad, and his real father is his poor dad. And you may hear that, and wow, you may be hearing that and go, wow, he thinks his real dad's poor and his friend's dad is rich. Well, it was true. Okay, his real dad was a teacher. Okay, and he remained poor his whole life and struggled with bills. Whereas his friend Mike's dad, his rich dad, was a very successful businessman and became one of the richest men, almost the richest in Hawaii. Okay, and that is the entire essence of the book. This is what he learned from his rich dad and from his poor dad, and how he has taught us. And Robert, he's a successful man, right? You may look at him and go, oh, well, he's just another rich guy. Well, that's because he's earned his money, all right? He learned how to use it, he learned how to earn it, and he is now sharing his knowledge with us. We should be thanking Robert, not criticizing him. So it kicks off with the first lesson: the rich don't work for money. All right, I want you to genuinely think, do you think Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos, all right, the perfect two examples, Mark Cuban even, all right, the big rich richies, Donald Trump, George Soros, do you think they're punching a clock every day? Do you think they're working 8 to 5 every day and they have millions of money? No. Okay, they have put their money to work into assets, into companies, and they make it work for them, okay? The poor and the middle class, this is what we learned from the chapter. The poor and the middle class work for money, okay? The rich have money work for them, okay? The rich make decisions fast, and they have a decisive mind, okay? They're very decisive, and they work fast. All right, in the poor and middle class, there's a distinction between the poor and middle class, but they both fall in the same category in terms to the rich. Okay, it's very fascinating there. Life is the best teacher of all. All right. By the way, if anyone's followed past segments where I review books, I write down little things I read from each chapter, usually a good quote, usually a good verse or whatever, and I talk about it on here. So if you're just hearing me go from one thing to another, it's what I read. If you want to read it all in chronologically, I could always maybe try and link Robert's book. I'm not really being sponsored by the book, so I'd rather, if I'm an official ambassador or sponsor, I'd rather link stuff, but I'm not. So I might just encourage you to go to Amazon, go to his website, and buy his book. So, life is the best teacher of all. And honestly, I've learned that myself. I had a sales prospecting day. You learn more going in the field than you do out of a book every single day, right? You learn more in the real world than you ever will in a class or in a book. And by the way, a book in a class will teach you what you need to know before going out there and actually experiencing it. But I want you to know, here's a very simple thing for you. I want you to watch an entire YouTube video and read a book on how to play a basketball game. Okay, and then I want you to go out and actually play a basketball game and see how different it is, right? Do that for any sport, do that for any activity, do it for chess, do it for checkers, do it for Monopoly, do it for freaking running a mile, okay? What you read and what you hear is much different than what you actually do, all right? And I think we've all learned that. It's easier to change yourself than anyone else. That is very powerful, okay? You just have to believe it. Some people are so emotionally damaged, they think they can't change how they are, and that's just their own fault. All right, that's just you being a loser. And you also, know what? When I read this book, it gets me riled up. So if I say any cuss words, I apologize. Any of my PG listeners, you might hear some cuss words from me today because this book riles me up so much because it just motivates me to be good. It realizes me and the people around me are sometimes so stupid and so ignorant that we can't even see the answers are right in front of us, okay? So it's easier to change yourself than anyone else. And also, don't try and change anyone else. We've learned that from past books. It's not worth your time or effort, all right? And the big thing from this book to take away, assets over income, all right? Assets are the key. Assets are what you do. If you're going to ask any successful person what to do, ask them, what assets should I invest in? What assets should I go after? And that will be where the money is at. Assets over your income, all right? It's fear that keeps most people working at a job. All right, think about that. A lot of people are scared. I leave my job. I don't have a plan. Okay, take calculated risks. Have a plan. Don't be scared of leaving your job. Don't be scared of, if I don't have a job, my life is completely over. No, that's not the case. It all comes down to your mindset and how you can find a way to make money. Most people become a slave to money, then get angry at their boss. How many people do you work with? I work with people. I'm working an office job as an intern this summer. How many people you work with will do something bad and they'll blame their boss? Something will happen and they'll blame their boss, okay? And the reason they're working at this job, the reason they hate their boss is because they need money to survive. And that is when you're a slave to money and you blame it on your boss. And by the way, more than often not, your boss answers to someone else. Okay, the owner of a company, the investors in a company, those are the ones who make the money, okay? Oftentimes your manager, okay, I'll go as far to even say, often than not, a vice president of some companies is not even the head honcho, right? He still answers to people. You really got to flip your mentality to, I want to be the top guy. I want everyone to answer to me, as tough as a responsibility that is, and that's what I definitely want. Have a passion to learn about money, okay? That's the key. Learning is your key, okay? That's what Robert said. He said a lot of people think, they'll read these books and they'll just go, I'm going to go, blank to the wind. I'm just going to throw all my stuff at these assets and just go after it. He says, no, you have to become financially literate, all right? You have to become educated. And when you have a passion to learn about money and how to make it, that is how you will make it. Use that thing between your ears, he said. That brain of yours, that head, that is what's going to be the key for you here. Avoiding one of life's biggest traps. So every person has a price. They also have resilience. All right, you have to avoid one of life's biggest traps, and that is just getting trapped in the going every single day, not realizing you have a purpose, not realizing that your life is more than what you think it is. And I've had this realization over and over times again, often at times in class, often at times during a job where I just want to quit and just run away and just go into a forest and just pick up some flowers or something. As absurd as it is, all right, you cannot fall into life's trap of thinking you have to work every single day to then retire, live out your last 10 to 20 years in just solitude. Okay, no, do not fall into that trap. And by the way, every person does have a price. Okay, you have to think, how much money would it take you to do some activity? All right, everyone has a price. You may think, all right, how much money for you to jump in that lake full of snakes? Okay, you may be like someone, right? How about $100? Be like, no. All right, how about $1,000? Well, it's a lot. That maybe not. All right, how about $10,000? Wow. That is a lot of money to just jump in this lake with a bunch of snakes. And how about $100,000? And a lot of people are going to go, okay, just to jump in real quick and then get out. And you'll go, yeah, you just have to jump in and you can get right out. Okay, barely even be in it. People have a price, and that applies for a lot of things, not even as extreme as jumping in a lake full of snakes. The avoidance of money is just as psychotic as being attached to money. Yes, there are people who are deathly attached to their money, and those people are evil. But on the exact opposite side, there are people who are deathly afraid of money and they want to avoid it at all costs. Both of those people should be avoided in life. Be an observer, if you will, of your emotions, not a reactor. This is a perfect one that anyone can do that's listening to this. I've been working on it. When you're in traffic, you're going to run into people, especially in rush hour, who drive slow, who drive fast, who cut you off, who slow down, who just take up your space. They take up your time. You have to react to your emotions eternally. Internally, I meant, not eternally. I guess eternally, forever you should do it, but internally, okay? And observe from within, okay? Don't react, right? Don't flip the bird. Acknowledge the fact, okay, I got angry at this person, but why am I actually angry? I'm angry because I want to be home, okay? How about when you're ordering food, all right, and you see the waiter bringing some other food out to someone else, okay? All right, you don't even think about those people. You don't even think about the waiter, all right? You're reacting out of selfish intent when you should be observing, why am I getting angry? Well, maybe it's because I'm hungry and I'm seeing other people get their food, okay? Be an observer, not a reactor. All right. People's lives are forever controlled by two emotions, those being fear and greed. Your entire life is really controlled by fear and greed. As drastic as it sounds, it's really more true than even you realize. I mean, think about it. Think about how many things you do in your life, either do or not do, do for greed and not do out of fear. All right. And you go through your whole day and you realize you do a lot of things on both of those agendas. Going on to our second page. Oh gosh, I have so many pages of notes, guys. This is all right. Have we really been talking 15 minutes? Honestly, sometimes even I wonder if I've been talking a whole time or if I've just been rambling. But this book is very important, so I encourage you all to hear what I say, because I'm going to be rereading it, and we're definitely going to revisit this on future episodes of the Surprise Chef podcast. Here's a quote from the book: "By not giving into your emotions, you were able to delay your reactions and think this is important." important. Okay, do not give in to your emotions. Right, the perfect one of these for any of my biblical people, for anyone actually in the world, is lust. Okay, lust is much more powerful than anyone realizes. It causes you to sexually gratify yourself. It causes you to cheat on a loved one. It causes you to chase women all night instead of chasing your dreams. Okay, don't give in to your emotions like that. All right, and also you can use this for anger. All right, how many times have you been angry at someone? Let's say you failed a test. Right, you're pissed. Right, failed your test. Right, you go to check on your food. Oh wait, I don't have any food. I didn't go to grocery. Okay, you gently turn and you knock over something on the counter and you flip. Okay, you're not in control of your emotions. You've given in to your anger emotion and now you're just a mess. Okay, delay your reactions and think. Think is the most important thing. Your parents tell you this from a young age. They've told me forever. Think before you speak. It is way more powerful than even you realize. All right? And please don't let money run your life. Okay? The whole goal of becoming wealthy, becoming rich, is not to let money run your entire life. It's not all about making money. It's about what you do with your money. It's about the trips you go on that you gain experience on. It's about buying something of value. It's about buying that gift for someone. It's about buying a house that will be a suitable place for you and your family. Okay, I think that's a common misconception when I tell people, hey, I want to be rich. I want to be filthy rich. People go, well, money isn't everything. And I just want to tell those people, you know what? I know money isn't everything, all right? But you want a nice car, you want a nice house, you want to wear nice clothes, you want to go out to the fancy dinner, you want to treat your kids nice, put them on all these sports, you want to spoil everyone around you, you want to give back to your community. It takes money. And I'm aware of that. I just wish everyone around me was too. History proves that great civilizations collapse when the gap between the haves and have-nots is too great. The haves and have-nots, the rich and the poor. Okay, and as the gaps between the rich and the poor increase, the quicker society is bound to collapse. And I want you all to know, from history, the rich will always survive over the poor. And as dark as it sounds, I would much rather survive than not survive. I know my place in heaven, all right? I know my standing with the Lord. But at the same time, okay, God's not saying don't be rich. God's not saying go be poor. What I really get from the Bible and what I get from this book is it's all about what it comes down to you. It comes down to you, right? If you are very sound with yourself and you don't have greed and you don't have fear and you know where you stand and you know, okay, I want to help poor people. I want to make rich people give a better name to themselves. How many people think the rich are evil? What is it? Eat the rich or whatever. Eat the rich. For too long we've hated on the rich. And yes, I want you to acknowledge this, that there are evil rich people. There are greedy rich people. There are selfish rich people. There's also good rich people. All right. Today I met a man who owns a company. A company that makes $50 million a year. All right. And this man is in a sweater vest drinking some wine. And he's squeezing my muscles because I was jokingly posing a picture. And he's going, "You're small." Then he grabs my arm and he's like, "Holy cow, this kid's actually jacked." And I'm like, this guy has tons of money. And he's out here joking around at a bar. All right. And he's just being jolly. He's like, "Hey, here's my business card. Call me if you want to talk about anything." And I'm like, goodness me, there are some funny people out there in the world with a lot of money who are very good. My grandfather, for example, all right, amazing human being, gives back to his community all the time, gives back to his grandkids, his kids all the time, and he still has money left over for himself, all right? It all comes down to you and what you choose to do with it, all right? And in terms of history, all right, that's kind of what this applies to. We only memorize historical dates and names, not the lesson. This is very important. In every historical thing you've learned in history, it is not the name of the battle. It is not what happened in the battle. It is the lesson learned from the battle, okay? Whether you charged in too quickly without thinking it over, all right? Think about Hiroshima, all right? I want you all to think about that for a second. Pearl Harbor, okay? Japan attacked Pearl Harbor without thinking about the response, okay? And the response was an attack on their city. And by the way, I'm not defending America. We dropped a nuclear bomb and killed citizens, okay? Innocent people, all right? We weighed the lives, all right? We're attacking some military people, but there's a lot of citizens in the area, and we weighed the consequences, and we decided innocent lives were more important than American lives, okay? And it came down to country versus country, all right? And if you don't learn from that, all right, if you don't learn from the fact that you need to overlook countries, you need to look it down to human beings as they are, okay? I'm not even going to go there, but there's just, look at the lesson, all right? Don't look at the date, and that's something I would definitely want to work on. A job is only a short-term solution to a long-term problem, okay? There's jobs for all sorts of things. By the end of the day, either you love working to make money or you work to make money, okay? Let's say you love being a carpenter, okay? Every day you go into work and you just enjoy what you do. You enjoy helping people, you enjoy fixing things up, and that's what you do. Now assume you're an accountant, all right? And you became an accountant because it makes a lot of money, and you sit for 40 freaking years in front of a computer screen to help budget people. Okay, that's all you do is you work on accounts, okay? And the only reason you do it is because you need something to afford your life, all right? And you don't even really enjoy it, all right? That would be a short-term solution to a long-term problem. And by the way, those short-term solutions will turn into long-term standing points, okay? So assess why you want a certain job, assess what you want to do with your job, and assess if conforming to society is what's up for you. All right. And another big thing that I learned from this book is that money is made up. All right. You're just going to hear that. You're just going to laugh. You're just going to mock. All right. But read the book. Look into the fact money is made up. At the end of the day, money is printed. Okay. At the end of the day, 300 years ago, there wasn't money. Okay, we had coins, all right? 500 years ago, we were trading items, okay? Money has reached a point where people believe its value. And, it's important to a society to believe something is able to be traded for one another. But when the people in charge are the ones printing the money and they realize how much impact it has, that is how they're gaining a lot of their power, okay? And when you realize that this made-up currency, which you can create out of thin air, is not real, you realize, okay, I can honestly create this fake thing and make it work for me. It's pretty powerful. Seeing what others miss, that is what's also very key. There's going to be a lot of people in your life who miss things, and you have to be the one to realize that and see around. That's what the greatest entrepreneurs are. They see ideas where other people have missed. All right, look at Bitcoin. All right, everyone missed on Bitcoin. A lot of people missed on Bitcoin. I talked to a guy today, his best buddy did not miss on Bitcoin, became a millionaire from it, lives in a $2 million house. He said he's a douchebag. He drives a Porsche. He has a supermodel wife. He has pretty much the stereotypical rich lifestyle. And, as much as you hate his personality, he may be egotistical. He saw what others missed. All right. And the final thing from lesson 1, those with imaginations thrive while those without are still looking for a job. Okay, I have a huge imagination. I want to look for other people with a huge imagination. I want to see the things that other people aren't seeing, and that's fun. Okay, imaginations are fun. I still create little fantasies in my head all the time about who knows what, being a basketball player, being a celebrity, being a WWE superstar, being a UFC fighter, okay? Your imagination is powerful. Never lose it. That's why I love artists. People who can create art, create stories up until their old age. Their imagination never dies. Those are the type of people that I absolutely love. Absolutely love that about people. Start diving into lesson 2 for this book. Lesson 2 was why teach financial literacy. Why is financial literacy so important? And it's not how much money you make, it's how much money you keep. Okay, that's what the book kicks off with, all right? It's not how much money you make, it's how much money you keep. And knowing financial literacy will help you know, out of how much I make, how much can I keep? Money without financial intelligence is money soon gone. So true. How many of us blow through money because we don't really know what to properly do with it? All right. If we really knew what to properly do with it, we would invest it, and then it would come back to us without us having to work. Right. And I know for a fact I have to do this. All right. I'm preaching to you as a fellow person who doesn't know what to do. So if anyone else wants to get going on this, wants to become rich, wants to learn how to make their money work for them, reach out to me. I want to work with you. I want to be successful. Rich people acquire assets. The poor and middle class acquire liabilities that they think are assets. So true. All right, there are real assets out there, and there's liabilities that are assets. And I'm not even going to try and preach to you guys because I'm still learning this myself. Just know, for example, real estate will almost forever be, I'm talking like a 99.9999% chance, be an asset. Cars are a 99.9999% liability. Okay, and I'm talking, you also got collector's items, all right? Those are huge liabilities where people think they're going to turn out to be bigger than they are. Even certain stocks, certain bonds, okay? You really got to be careful of what you're doing, and you got to become financially literate, and that's what I'm going to try and do, become financially literate, and I'm going to put back my knowledge onto you guys while I'm here on the podcast. Accounting, they said, is super big from the book. That's what Robert says, very important to know. He also said it's important to just know about accounting, but he said when it comes to creating your board of directors personally in your life, have your own accountant, all right? Not all of us are going to enjoy accounting. Know what accounting is, know the basics of accounting, have an actual accountant who can actually explain it to you and help you with that. And here's some rules. Here's some rules that Robert listed out. Rule number 1, you must know the difference between an asset and a liability and buy assets. That's how you become rich. That's how you become rich, That's how you become rich, all right? Become rich. Sorry, guys, I've been talking all day. Visited 37 accounts with one of the sales reps today. It was so fun. Absolutely love it. I might do sales right out of college to get going before I get my assets. But assets are how you become rich, all right? You know what? You buy some assets. You continue to work the assets. You then take the money from those assets, buy more assets. That's how you become rich, okay? Easy money. All right. An asset puts money in my pocket. A liability takes money out of my pocket. All right. There's a little mantra for you. A liability is taking money out. An asset is putting money in. And personally, I would love to have money in my pocket rather than taken out of my pocket. Okay. If you want to be rich, you have to understand numbers, right? Numbers are the key, all right? You know, some people hate numbers. Okay, I want you to know, go look in your bank account how much money you have. Yeah, those aren't alphabet. Okay, that is numbers. Okay, it's not letters, all right? It's numbers, all right? And that's something important that I'm going to have to work on. I know everyone else is if you can read the numbers and understand what they're telling you, you'll make the money, all right? And here's what you're going to do, all right? Here's what you're going to do when you're curious, all right? You're going to learn something, you're going to unlearn it, and then you're going to relearn it. Okay, and that's what I'm kind of going through right now. You know, I've learned so much throughout middle school, high school, even college, right? And now I'm having to unlearn some of it and relearn so that I can become successful and happy. All right. And it goes into a bunch of different showings of cash flow patterns. I mean, they do it of assets, they do it of liabilities, they do it doing certain different methods. It's all in Rich Dad Poor Dad. I'm not going to try and break down every single cash flow asset. It shows, I mean, for the first one, it shows it of an asset, you know, an asset on your balance sheet. It's going to go up into your income. All right. And that's how you're going to make money. All right. When you have an asset, it's going to go up into your income and make money. But the cash flow of a poor person, all right, the cash flow of a poor person, they're going to get their income, all right, that's going to go from their salary. It's going to go into their expenses and go straight out, all right. What assets should do, all right, as their own is go right into your income. Now, obviously, you get into corporations where it kind of dives into your expenses, then to your income. Whole lot of stuff. This is all very important to know. I mean, the triple stars, right? Stars all over this. Know the difference. I'm not going to try and explain it. Read the book. If we ever get around to making YouTube videos, maybe I'll try and dive into this. But this is all very complex for me. You know, I kind of understand it. Actually, I've been playing this cash flow game, which Robert Kiyosaki created. It's free to play on the web. You just have to sign up for your account. And it kind of teaches you all about that, about investing in things and stuff. And it's a game. It's actually kind of a fun game. I've beaten it a couple times. I've failed a lot of times. Go check that out. All right. I'm not going to try and explain this. Cash flow tells the story of how a person handles money. All right, so there you go. All right, the cash flow will tell you how you handle your money. I'll list out all the steps you took, and you'll see, oh, I shouldn't have done that. I should have done that. I shouldn't have done that. I'm glad I did that. Wish I didn't do that. That's what a cash flow will be. All right, here's a little quote for you. If you have found you have dug yourself into a hole, stop digging. Okay, this is very powerful. I think this is important when you've damaged something, or how many people have damaged something, and they're so angry they break the rest of it. And now you have more damage to clean up, okay? If you've dug yourself into a hole, you're in an argument with someone, don't try and dig yourself deeper. Pause where you're at, because it's easier to climb out than to keep going down deeper. Because you're going to have to climb out anyways at some point. So there's that. And the final point of lesson 2, one of the other rules, if you will, is look for income-generating assets, okay? Assets that generate you income when you're just lollygagging around in the world, all right? Income-generating assets are where you get more money in your bank account, all right? And we'll talk about that at a much later point. Also, if you read the book, Robert breaks it right down. This guy has financial intelligence, all right? Far beyond my years. I'm trying to learn. I'm 21 years old. I have a long road ahead of me. I want to become successful, all right? And I want everyone else who's listening to become successful too, because I'm a positive person. All right, let's get into lesson number 3, mind your own business. And this is a lesson that is highly of, just hard to work at, if you will, because mind your own business is hard. You know, as a nosy person myself, I always like to be informed. Whenever I see something interesting, some police sirens go by, I hear loud shouting outside, I'm always trying to go check it out, be like, hey, what's going on over here, all right? Mind your own business, all right? The rich focus on their asset columns while everyone else focuses on their income statements, right? The rich, they mind their own business, right? They're over here working on their assets, all right? And all their employees are working on their income statements, okay? Simple as that. Simple as freaking that, okay? You just have to learn it, all right? And real estate is the way I've been told real estate is the way to getting huge generating assets. And by the way, real estate is not just a house, is not just a home. It can be apartment complexes, it can be warehouses, it can be a theme park. All right, real estate is land. All right, an estate is land, and it is real. All right, it's a real estate. All right, and I have a lot to learn, but I'm here to learn, so I can use real estate to buy things. By the way, Robert and me kind of agree. Robert Kioska says he likes buying real estate because he likes seeing pretty things. He likes seeing people move into them, and I find houses, buildings very cool, and I want to buy them, and I want to reinvent them and make them very cool for other people to live in. Business and profession are not the same. Business and profession are not the same. All right, people are gonna ask you, all right, what business you in? What business you in? And you're gonna say, well, I'm in the marketing business. And they're gonna say, oh, so you own a marketing company? And you're gonna go, no, I don't own a marketing company. And they're like, okay, so you're not in a business, you work for a business. Okay, then you have a profession. And you're going to be like, okay, I guess I'm a marketing specialist. And they're like, okay. So when you're in a business, you own the business. If you're in the real estate business, you're the top guy. You're the broker, right? You're calling the shots, all right? You're the real estate agent, if you will. Your profession, all right? Let's say you're working as an accountant, all right? Your business is in accounting, all right? Because you don't own the accounting firm. Your profession is an accountant, right? And there's a distinction, and you have to earn the title of what business are you in. Oh, for me, I want to be in the real estate business. Okay, you own your own real estate company, you own real estate. I do, then you're in that business. Okay, financial struggle is often the result of people working all their lives for someone else. It's true. All right, everyone struggles financially when they have to work for someone else. All right, work for yourself. All right, work for yourself. I'm telling you, that's all I want to do now. And I'm sure, I don't even want to think about the conversations I'm going to have with my girlfriend, potentially future wife, my parents, other people in my life, when I tell them, hey, I don't really want to work a job. Okay, I want to work for myself. It's going to be a lot of work. Okay, and I spoke to a guy today who said it's hit or miss. But the guy telling me hit or miss is a sales director who makes good money, has a great position at the company. He still answers to people in his mid-50s. Okay, you have to understand there's some people you can take some advice from. From others, you have to understand what position you want and assess what information you're getting back. Real assets. So what are some real assets? Real assets are businesses that do not require my presence. All right, real assets. All right, if you don't have to be there. All right, it's a real asset. Okay, you can own a business. Have some stake in a business, and when you're not working there, it's making money. All right, stocks, bonds, stereotypical ones, stocks and bonds, kind of evolved now. I struggle with that because I get people telling me, oh, invest in the stock market, buy some bonds. Got other people that are younger saying, don't do that. It's going out of age. Got to be careful. Income generating real estate, that's where it's at, folks. That's where it's at. If you buy some real estate and it continues to generate income, you get a tenant, they pay rent. There you go. Bingo, boingo. Oh, what the heck? I just got rent from a property that I bought and is already paid off. Oh, wait, $1,500 extra this month. Perfect. Bingo, right there. Notes kind of go with the stocks and bonds. More things I have to learn about, but notes are also something that are real assets. And royalties from music, scripts, and other patents. If you can earn royalties, holy crap. One of my friends at college, her boyfriend actually earns royalties from a audio mix he got sent to Trippie Redd. So, that's pretty cool. He earns a little bit of royalties. Is it a lot? No, he earns like, 30, 20, $40 every month or so. But hey, over a year, you're earning like $200, $300 extra bucks. That's perfect right there. Try and think of some ideas. Write a song, write a poem, write a script for something. Be like, hey, you know what? How about I give this to you? I earn royalties off it. And that's how a lot of people who write music, write scripts for movies, make a living right there. Genius. Once a dollar goes into your asset category, it becomes your employee. All right, remember, money's working for you. You're not working for it. All right, consider every dollar you have an employee, and you will view money differently. Think about it. You know what? Think about giving away 13 of your employees for a nice burger at a restaurant. All right, 13 of my employees just went to work to allow me to eat. Okay, now turn that into $13,000, have allowed me to invest in this property. All right, and those employees are going to be working to then give me more employees back in return. It's very hard, even when I say it like that. It sounds goofy, but I hope you get the gist. Okay. Lesson number 4, the history of taxes and the power of corporations. All right, corporations are the biggest secret of the rich. All right, and this is a direct quote from the book. Rich Dad did not see Robin Hood as a hero, but as a crook. All right, that's what Robert Kiyosaki says, and I believe this stems from the fact that, with corporations, you can do a lot of write-offs. Okay, you can do a lot of write-offs. Suddenly, this trip you just took down to the Bahamas was actually a business meeting to discuss things. Suddenly, this trip across the country turned into a sales road trip. You can write that off on your corporation. You can put a lot of things under your corporation. And corporations, when I ask people, what do you think of a corporation? And they'll say, I think of a really big building, a lot of men walking around in suits, tall guy at the top writing things. No, a corporation is a piece of paper that says you own a corporation. So I know for a fact I'm going to be opening a corporation sooner or later, and from there, expanding it. Okay, and learning more about it, building my financial literacy. That's the big thing from the book. Build your financial literacy, and you will learn more. Now, when it comes down to Robin Hood, I'm really trying to think back what Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad was trying to get at, because I read this book last week, and now I was finally able to talk about it on the podcast when I get around to it with all my notes, collecting them. And when it comes to Robin Hood, Robin Hood took from the rich and gave it to the poor. But the issue with Robin Hood, and this is an issue in today, is when you take from the rich unfairly, the rich learn how to not let that happen again. And that usually leads to them raising taxes. And they don't themselves raise taxes, but they use the law to help them avoid paying unnecessary taxes. And they're able to do that through corporations. Corporations are very helpful in that, because corporations don't pay taxes as much as the average person will on their income. You kind of have to ask yourself this, guys. Who are you working for? All right, who do you work for, and who are you making rich? Are you making yourself rich by working at your job, or are you making your bosses rich? And I look at this as an intern. As an intern, I've fulfilled many job parts as a marketing intern, also working with sales and honestly across the whole company. And what I've learned is that the owners, there's two owners. There's two co-owners of the company, one that's owned it since the 80s and one that joined in 2010. And they're barely in the office, especially the guy who's owned it since the 80s. And I know for a fact that everyone working in this company, all 50 employees, are working to make this man rich. Now, mind you, this man provides them with many benefits on the job and a income, and a secure job to work the rest of their life if they love what they do. But at the same time, they are working to make him rich. And I would just, I don't know if I really want to dive psychologically into people like that. I'm just an intern. I leave in a week. I don't know if I want to dive into that, but there's some people I just want to ask, are you okay making someone else rich if you still get benefits? That's just something you have to ask yourself. Entrepreneurs who can offer a better product at a better price have a great chance, in my opinion. And it just comes down to thinking about what is a product out there that can be made better and be made cheaper and sold to your customers at a cheaper cost than their opponents. And that's something I want to work on. I'm certainly going to try and join the Entrepreneur Club at my college for the senior year, because I want to meet like-minded individuals. Honestly, going out to different places, going out to different occasions, just talk it up with people. That's what you got to do right there. That is the key, in my opinion. Continuing along, financial IQ is made up of knowledge from 4 broad areas. Number 1, accounting, which is the ability to read numbers, as we mentioned. Number 2 is investing, which is the science of making money, something I very much need to dive into. Number 3 of financial IQ is understanding markets, right? The science of supply and demand, all right? Economics, right there for you. And number 4, the law, tax advantages, protections provided by a corporation. All right, pay expenses before your taxes. All right, put money into trusts. All right, expenses before taxes is very big. And the law is how the rich are able to stay rich and become richer. All right, they learn these laws, and when they sign deals, they work it into the law that they don't have to pay as much taxes through their corporation. All right, get a legal entity, guys. That's what you can do. You can go down, sign it at the corporate office. The legal office. That's what you got to do. But it takes financial IQ, which, like most of you, I'm hoping are going to try and build up so that we can learn more. Lesson number 5, the rich invent money. This chapter was kind of a doozy, all right? Chapter 5, the rich invent money, all right? Often in the real world, it is not the smart who get ahead, but the bold, All right, how often are the people in the room who are bold even more better ahead than the people who are smart? Okay, and the smart person will always know what to do. They'll know the correct answer, but the bold person will put them in a better position, all right, themselves. That is not the smart person. The bold person will put themselves ahead through their boldness, all right? You don't think George Washington was smarter than all his advisors when he was crossing and leading the war? No, all right? George Washington was bold, all right? Think about that, for example. That was my example because I was thinking of the painting, or the picture of him, like, going across. I don't know what I was thinking. The cash flow game I wrote down at richdad.com. The game reflects behavior, and it gives an instant feedback system. Very fun game. I very much encourage that. Great opportunities are seen with your mind and not your eyes. There you go. Right there. If you can see it in your mind, you can bring it to life. That's what I absolutely love. Organize smart people in your life. Have a board of directors. That's very important. And the whole title, The Rich Invent Money, is it an eye catcher to kind of grab you in? Yes, it is. My notes kind of aren't the strongest from here on out because I was focusing more on reading and less on note-taking because I was just kind of trying to absorb, if you will. But also when you kind of think about the rich do invent money, the richest people in the world have invented the laws. They've invented the money. They print the money. It's just being aware that it is being done. Okay, and they're the ones that continue to generate revenue where the poor people complain, why am I so poor? My life sucks. When in reality, they could join the rich people if they were just, and also being rich, people obviously think rich, billions of dollars, millions of dollars. All right, how about you make $300K a year when before you were making 22 grand a year, all right? Then you're rich in your mind, all right? This all comes down to perspective, guys. Lesson 6, work to learn, don't work for money. This is something I've taken with me to my internship, all right? This is something I'm going to take with me the rest of my life, all right? When you're working at a job, all right, you should be working to learn how to use these skills to then provide for yourself without having to provide for a company. Don't just be working for money. And that's, there's certain jobs that I've had before. I mean, working on the farm, working delivering supplies to contractors, working at Menards, where it's all about money, all right? It's not about what you're learning, but you are learning stuff while you're there, all right? Learning over job security, all right? Always go for the job that gives you the best learning, the extra education over the job that gives you the best security, because guess what? Job security is designed to keep you there as long as possible, right? It's taken me this long to realize it. And yeah, you get some nice benefits, but are you okay sacrificing your labor at 40 to 50, 60, 70, 80 hours a week just to then retire when you're in your 70s? Think about that. Get people's attention, all right? You're one skill away from the next level. Everything in life is about getting people's attention. That's why sales and marketing, I think, are some of the most important things when it comes to owning and running a business, is what I've been told as well as the financial IQ, accounting, and number side of things. But you're always just one skill away from the next level, right? You're always just one new thing learned away from leveling up whatever you're doing in life. Look at emerging nations. Emerging nations offer so many new opportunities. Think about, this new nation has emerged, and they now have a completely new class of middle class. And the middle class need new things to bring up their hobbies. So, you're a tennis court investor. You go over and say, hey, how about in the center of your neighborhood, we're going to open 12 tennis courts for you guys. All right. And as stupid as that sounds, that'll make a good amount of money. All right. An acronym for job, which Robert Kiyosaki wrote out. Kiyosaki, I'm so sorry, Robert. J-O-B, just over broke. You're just over broke because your job, you're working to not be broke, all right? More than that, you're working to not be broke. You're working to not have any, you're working to not have any money, okay? You're just over broke. Choose teachers that have actually done what you want to do. This is something so important. You should ask your professors, ask your mentors in life. Have they actually done what you're learning from them? All right. And I've learned this a lot from my jobs. I have had a teacher who worked in financial accounting who was never actually a financial accountant. They're just a teacher. And then I've also had a sales teacher who worked in sales for years. I've had a business law teacher who was a cop, was a detective, was a police sergeant for many years. And I've also had a, I'm trying to think what class I had to do with the earth, like, natural disasters and different rock forms, land forms. And he had been to almost every single nation to work on that stuff, okay? And then, I have elementary school teachers teach me about history, and they haven't even lived in that history. Okay, you really have to assess if what you're learning has been experienced by the teachers teaching it. The main management skills needed for success. I can't believe I thought I wrote sureness, but it was success. The main management skills needed for success are the management of cash flow, which we've briefly touched on. You can play it in the Robert Kiyosaki's game. Cash flow is very important. The management of systems and the management of people. All right, to run a company, you need to know where the money's going, you need to know what people are working for you, and you need to know what systems you have in place. Okay, right there. There's a little thing for running a small little business, if you will. For things to change, I must first change. There's a little powerful verse for you, and it's very true. All right, for things in your life to change, you need to change. All right, think about working out. Okay. All right, you're not going to get jacked, all right, if everyone around you is getting jacked, right? You have to be the one to decide to change that, okay? That's where the change begins, all right? And I think it's very important when it comes to financial literacy, financial intelligence, and that's very important. And we're actually being joined live on air by a special guest, Mr. Scout Ruger, my sweet yellow lab, who has decided to bury his head in the garbage right by the stage. So thank you so much, Scout. Please, to your couch while we wrap up Rich Dad Poor Dad, an official review of the book. Yes, make yourself comfortable. Reasons financially literate people may still not develop abundant asset columns. This is going into chapter number 7, which is overcoming obstacles, right? Which is basically talks about the main difference from the rich and poor is how they handle fear. Okay, fear is very important. Okay, fear is very important. Scout, as he looks at me. If anyone has a dog, I really encourage you guys to do a podcast while your dog is down in the room with you, because he just makes it so much better. Dogs are so happy, except when they bark. We've had that happen many times before. But fear is something that the poor completely give into, and fear is something that the rich look at, scoff, and move on from. But some of the reasons that you may still not have an abundant asset column if you are financially literate is fear. Okay, right there, fear. Some people are fearful of making that big investment into something. Cynicism. Okay, laziness, bad habits, arrogance. All right, if you hate risk and worry, start early. Okay, if you hate risk and worry, start early. Do it when you're young so you can look back and go, that was so stupid. Why did I do it? Even though it paid off, why would I do that? It's so dumb. Okay, it's so dumb. But yeah, people are lazy, all right? They don't want to do it. I certainly, I don't really see myself as lazy. And I'll say this sounds like I'm making an excuse, but I'm kind of just explaining my actions. But I'm at a point right now where I have so much going on. I really need to settle down, once I go back down to college, have some alone time, get my big whiteboard out, and truly plan out what I want to do, how I want to increase my assets, all right? Fix my bad habits, turn bad habits into good habits, and not be arrogant about anything. Admitting you are at the bottom of the food chain is exactly how you get to the top, okay? Because I had a sales prospecting day today, as I've mentioned many times on this podcast before, and afterwards we regrouped and we talked about everything, and I stayed 30 to 40 minutes afterwards talking with two sales guys from a different company, just about life, about how to invest in assets, how to network, how to, change up what you're doing in your life. And I just assumed the bottom position. They even held me accountable at times, 2 guys that barely even know me. All right. And it takes not being arrogant, not being lazy, and just building good habits of networking that really, start you on the fast track. All right. Learn first. All right. When you learn first, you always do better. Okay. I started this podcast not learning. As I slowly went on, I started learning. If I'd have learned first, I'd already been ahead by my first 3 or 4 episodes. Very important. Chapter 8 is titled Getting Started. And this kind of Robert Kiyosaki kind of lays on some ways to get started on things in this book. There's gold everywhere. Train yourself to see it. All right. And he kind of gave an example of a guy who, I don't know exactly what country it is. You'll have to read in the book. But he's trained, he's a gold digger, and he trained himself to see the gold instead of dig for the gold. All right. So he finds the gold, tells the guy, hey, I know where the gold's at. I'll give you a small cut if you dig it up for me. And he doesn't even do that much. He just spots it. He doesn't even do any of the labor, all right? And there's gold out there for you everywhere. And even if you might have to work for it, all right, you first have to train yourself to see it. There are actually 10 steps which you can view as a process to develop your powers of getting started, of seeing gold. This was so fun. And, this was like a 30-page chapter. And I kind of was looking at it in the afternoon. It was like 3 o'clock at work. And I was kind of like, oh my gosh, I really want to read 30 pages right now. I could not stop reading this. I mean, every single process just had me going to the next. It was so amazing. And gosh, we've almost been talking for an hour about all the stuff in this book, which is, it's so amazing. I can't help it, but still, nonetheless. So number one, find a reason greater than reality. The power of spirit, right? This is where God comes in. This is where Jesus comes in. This is where acknowledging your purpose comes in, all right? Without a strong reason or purpose, anything in life is hard, okay? If you understand that you were made for more than whatever you're doing, you will be far more successful. Okay, far more successful. And I personally know as a fact, I know I am meant for more, all right? And I'm not trying to say I'm better than anyone, absolutely not. But I know I was not put on this earth to be average, work a dead-end job, and retire. No, I'm meant to change lives. I'm meant to change this nation, this world. I don't exactly know where I'm being guided, but I am being guided in places that even I don't understand, and I'm here for it. Number two, make daily choices the power of choice, all right? Time is your most precious asset, and a truly intelligent person welcomes new ideas, all right? Every day, every single day, you have a choice, all right? And we'll use broad choices. You have the choice to get up early and go to the gym before work, all right? You have the choice to complete all your tasks for the week in a day. If it's done, if it's doable, you have to think, you work 8 hours a day. How much of it are you actually working? If you actually put 8 hours of working into a day, how much would you get done? Okay, you have the choice when you get home to go for a walk, to play with your dogs, play with your kids, or sit on the couch and watch some fucking TV, all right? Do you hear me, people? All right, and I've been guilty of it, but I've had enough of it, all right? I am ready to be successful. And do I want to sit by when things are going on? Absolutely not, all right? Get up, make daily choices to better yourself. How about instead of jerking off on the internet, little Johnny, you read a good book like The 48 Laws of Power, Eat That Frog, Atomic Habits, The 7 Effects of Highly Effective People, okay? Do something with your life. Gosh, it just riles me up, okay? And I'm guilty of it too at times, all right? I cannot be making the best choices, but goodness me, I want to. But people that tell me I don't need to be making good choices, oh, they boil my briskets. Number three, choose friends carefully. The power of association. A perfect segue into law number three. Warning, don't listen to poor or frightened people, all right? You're going to come across poor people. You're going to come across frightened people, and you're going to come across lazy people. I mean, as I'm saying this, I hope people are coming to your mind, because as I'm speaking, people I know are coming to mind. You have to cut them off. All right, they are a reed in the brush, all right? You're trying to clear out that area around your lake. Cut them off, all right? Trim the branches off your tree, all right? You have to understand cutting ties off with people is a natural part of life, right? How many of us have been heartbroken? How many of us have broken hearts, all right? You had to cut that person off. Other people in our life that we may think are insignificant, who actually have a significant impact, cut them off, right? Choose your friends carefully. Who you associate yourself with will ultimately become who you are. Number four, master a formula and then learn a new one. The power of learning quickly. It's a fast-changing world. You have to learn to make money fast. You truly do. We can't let our money sit in a Roth IRA, sit in a savings account. It doesn't work anymore. Money has to be made fast, okay? And people hear that and go, dude, there's no get-rich-quick scheme. And obviously I know that, but fast to some people may be a day. Fast to other people like myself, I'll acknowledge 10 years, okay? Right now I'm 21 years old. Let's say I start putting this all into effect. What if I'm a millionaire by 31? Scratch that, when I'm a millionaire by 31. Boom, when I'm a billionaire by 51. Ambition is going crazy. All right, number five, pay yourself first. The power of self-discipline, all right? This is the number one factor between the rich and poor, and it obviously comes down to putting money in your assets, then your expenses, okay? And that's how you make your money, all right? Pay yourself first. Pay your portion first, all right? Pay yourself whatever you want first. Your expenses will then follow, and this will cause you to level up your game. Let's say you are the leader of a big corporation. Jeff Bezos pays himself first and then worries about how he's going to pay all his employees, right? He's got tons of employees, okay? He's got to put together a plan, all right, I just put $50 million in my bank account, but shoot, I have to pay $60 million to everyone, all right? We only made $100 million, okay? How am I going to scrape together $10 million to pay employees? That's where that entrepreneurial mindset comes into practice. And by the way, for all of these lessons, Robert Kiyosaki gives amazing examples. Truly one of the best authors I think I've ever read. Gosh, what in the world did I do? My writing got so out of course sometimes. Honestly, I have the worst handwriting for being someone who writes so much. To successfully pay yourself first, you must avoid large debt. All right, so if you don't have any debt, you should be chilling. Keep your expenses low. That's very important. And build assets first, which is a star next to it. All right. Then the mansion and the Ferrari. All right. Once you build your assets first, then you can buy yourself that huge house, build yourself that Ferrari. Finally go to WrestleMania and sit front row. I can only dream of it sitting front row at UFC events for the rest of my life. Okay, that comes after everything. All right. First we pay those. Expenses. We make sure we have no debt. All right. We make sure our assets are all in check. Then we splurge the money. That's how the rich do it, and it works for them. All right. I want you all to know. All right. Jason Statham isn't going out every single night and spending millions and millions of dollars. No. Okay, he's being conservative with his money, and he's also kicking butt as a movie star. Love you, Jason Statham. Being stuck in the rat race is not intelligence. No, it's not. Now, as I look around, everyone's in the rat race, and you may be like, okay, how do I escape it? And I want you to know, there's a lot of rats. Okay, there's a lot of rats, but there's always that one rat that breaks free from the pack and becomes the king rat? Gosh, sometimes I suck at analogies, but you know what I'm saying. The rat race is its own thing. You're caught in this maze endlessly with all these other rats, and once you finally break free, you can finally stand on your hind legs and walk around. Honestly, I'm sick of rat comparisons. I don't like rats. When you come up a bit short, let pressure build. All right, let pressure build. Savings are used to create money, not pay bills. All right, those are two different things. So when you come up short, let the pressure build. All right, let's say you're behind on rent. All right, let's say you're behind on rent and you don't know what to do. All right, it's due in 2 weeks. Don't do anything about it for a week. Okay, honestly, is that smart? No, but when it comes to that, all right, go off for a week. All right, now you have less than a week. Now the pressure's build up. All right, people truly show who they are when they're under pressure. Right, think about Michael Jordan. Okay, all right, you were down 10. All right. Now you're down 3. But when you were down 10, you had 5 minutes left. When you're down 3, you got 10 seconds, right? The pressure is now built. It's go time. Hit the game-winning shot, all right? Break free of the rat race. Become that rich man you want to be. And savings are used to create money, not pay bills. It's very true. When you have savings, keep it in savings. Your other money should be used to pay your bills. Don't be diving into your savings. By the way, when you're young, you're probably not going to actually have real savings unless your parents have been putting money in for you. But if you've earned all your money like myself, you're pretty much going to be diving into your savings a bit when you're kind of just, doing your own thing, living in your apartment in college. But once you're out of college, all right, that's when you're officially on your own. I know some people, it's out of high school, but for me and a lot of other college students, it's once we're out of college. So, that kind of applies to later on down the line. Number 6, pay your brokers well. All right, pay your brokers well, the power of good advice. We live in the information age. Info is priceless. There's some people in this world that you will pay to give you bad information. There's also some people you will pay to give you good information, okay? If you pay your accountant well, he'll give you great information. If you pay one of your investors well, he'll give you great investing information, all right? If you pay people to do a good job well, and they're good at their job, they'll most likely give you good information compared to someone who doesn't pay them well. Right? Think about that for a second. Number 7, be an Indian giver, the power of getting something for nothing. All right? Only play with money you can afford to lose. Wise investors look at more than ROI. They look at the assets they get for free once they get their money back. So the Indian giver transpires from, I can only related to the pilgrimage, when these new people that moved into the land of the pilgrims, they were cold during the winter, and so what did the Indians do? They gave them jackets, right? They gave them these cloaks of wolf of deer hide, and they gave it to them, and the pilgrims were like, oh yeah, all good, thank you so much, the settlers. And the Indians were like, what do I get in return? And they were kind of offended they didn't get anything in return. And the pilgrims were kind of like, I didn't think we need to give you anything in return. Be an Indian giver. Expect something in return. Not all the time, all right? But know who you're dealing with, for goodness sakes, all right? You can't always just give without getting, okay? And you have to assess when you've been giving and not getting in something. And this comes with only play with money you can afford to lose, all right? When it comes to, giving and you receive, all right? When you donate to something, don't be donating $3,000 to a animal foundation when you only have $5,000 in your bank account. That's not smart, all right? You're not going to be getting $3,000 back, just like you're actually not going to be getting $6,000 in your mind back just because you donated that. There's a lot more to it. And, when it comes to wise investors, look at more than ROI. They look at the assets they get for free. Once they get their money back, that's just being smart. Okay, you have to understand that, when you're, investing in something, you need to get something back. That's why it's an investment, not a charity, if you will. 8, use your assets to buy luxuries, the power of focus. To be the master of money, you need to be smarter than it, all right? Be smarter than your money, all right? Buy luxuries with your assets and then focus them on where they need to be. Let's say you buy a new car, all right? How about you rent that car out to some stupid college kids to drive around on their prom night, all right? Do that or something. Fun stuff. Number 9, choose heroes, the power of myth. I love this one. Here are some of Robert Kiyosaki's heroes. He listed Donald Trump, George Soros, Thomas Sowell, George Gammon, Jim Rickards, David Stockman. If they can do it, so can I. Find heroes who make it look easy, all right? How many of us have been in our driveway picturing where Stephen Curry hitting that shot, picturing where Conor McGregor landing that final knockout punch, picturing where Tom Brady throwing that, big Super Bowl touchdown, okay? Now think you're a killer investor on the stock market waiting to make a big deal, when in reality you're just in your kitchen on your computer, okay? How about that? How about you switch up your mentality, find some heroes, and do that? Wow, finally on our final page of notes. Lesson 10, teach and you shall receive, the power of giving, all right? God does not need to receive, but humans need to give, all right? Don't give to receive, and you will receive. Give to receive, and you will not receive. And I get how that's kind of like going back on the Indian giver, but in reality, it all comes down to what you're dealing with, okay? When you give a service to someone, I know my girlfriend gave an excellent example of her father who did something for a family friend, changed their tires or something, for example, for free, and they wanted to pay him. And he was like, guys, no, we're all good. And they're like, okay, you know what, but we're going to pay you back down the line. And he's like, okay, whatever. He actually did another favor for them down the line. They're like, you know what, we're going to pay you back, all right, down the line. He's like, guys, you're a family friend. It's all good. By Christmas time, they sent him a check with way more money than he should have been paid from both of the things combined, all right? You do receive when you give something, okay? But at the same time, let's say you're constantly going over to your buddy's house and you're completely cleaning it for him just because he's your friend. You get nothing in return. There's a difference there. You may be like, oh, I'm just doing a good deed. But are you doing a good deed, or are you teaching him that you'll be his little personal slave? All right, you really have to assess that. Chapter 9, still want more? Here are some to-dos. All right, Robert gave us some to-dos in the final chapter. Love ideas and love action. Ideas and action are amazing. Okay, if you have an idea about what to do, put some action towards it. By the way, you need an idea to start anything, and you need action to complete anything. That's just how things go in the world. Here are some steps. Stop doing what you're doing, all right? Assess what's going right, assess what's going wrong, and you will improve, all right? Look for new ideas. He gave an example of a book to read, The 16% by Joel Massachusetts, however you want to say his last name. I know I want to read that book when it comes to investing in real estate. Find someone who has done what you want to do. More often than not, anything you've ever wanted to do has been already done. Just copy what someone else has done, or even better yet, learn from it and improve. Take classes, read, and attend seminars. My grandfather just told me that he used to attend seminars back in the day, for years, and whenever he would attend the seminars, 4 to 6 during a year, he would make much more money during a year than he would when he didn't attend a seminar. Start getting on that. Make lots of offers. It's fun, and it's also a game, right? Make offers to people, all right, that benefit you, that benefit them. Life's a game, guys. Have some fun with it. Make some offers. Shoot out a deal. The worst offer you could ever make is not making an offer. Jog, walk, or drive a certain area once a month for 10 minutes. And this is definitely applied to real estate, or even for getting ideas. Looking at new business opportunities in an area. See how much stuff changes every single month. Shop for bargains in all markets. Profits are made in buying, not selling. All right. So look around at markets, right? See what you could buy from someplace else compared to another place, and see what else you could have someone else buy in a different area. Lots of stuff there. Look for people who want to buy first, then someone who wants to sell. Right? So if you find someone who's in the market for something, it is then easier to find someone who's willing to sell and pair them together. And then you collect some profit. All right? Think big. Think big when it comes to stuff. Dream big. That is always one of the most powerful things. All right? I want to be around people that want to be billionaires. I don't want to be around people that want to work at McDonald's. Right? I want to think big. Learn from history as well. Right? Like we said, this is a callback to don't memorize the dates of the wars and what went down at the war. look at the lesson of the war, all right? And here's the final thing. Action always beats inaction. Don't play it safe. Play it smart. Act now. Action will always beat inaction, all right? The man who goes to the gym every single day will beat the man who never goes to the gym when it comes to lifting something, all right? And life is not meant to be played safe, all right? I know people that have played life safe. They live a mellow life with no excitement, all right? Play it smart, and you will have more than you could ever wish for, all right? Act now, guys. Act now and achieve your dreams. And that right there is my little psyop of rich dad, poor dad. And I'm almost questioning if I actually recorded all this or if I was talking about something else, because we went over this for over an hour and I had an absolute blast. It's actually so late at night. But guess what? There's still more on the agenda, because guess what? We got our UFC Vegas 95 predictions in tow. We only have 10 fights. They're all kind of whack, so this shouldn't take too long. We'll dive into them, drop our predictions, give you a little preview, and then we'll send you all on your merry way to not only make money in the UFC, but make money in your personal life. Kicking off the 95th Apex event that the UFC has done. I mean, come on. You don't think we've beat it to the bush a bit? You don't think it might be a bit of overkill at this point? More Apex events. And by the way, they have out to 99 planned. I hope for Apex 100 they bring like all the legends of the UFC Apex. You know, Kevin Holland is a name that comes to mind. I'd even say Devin Figueiredo. He had a great run at the Apex. I don't know what they're going to do, but UFC Vegas 95 gets kicked off with a women's strawweight matchup between Stephanie Luciano and Talita Alencar. Stephanie Rondinha Luciano, interesting nickname, and Talita Problem Child Alencar. Stephanie Luciano 5-1-1, Talita 5-0-1. Wow. 5'6" to 5'1" gives Stephanie 5 inches in height. She also has 7 inches in reach, 65 inches to 58. Talita only has a 58-inch reach. Both women stand in the orthodox stance position. Kicking off first with our favorite Stephanie Luciano, minus 170. Talita Alencar is the plus 140 underdog. And fun fact, these two have fought before. They fought on Dana White's Contender Series back in September of 2023. Crazy enough, they decided to have them rematch here. In that fight, I mean, Talita Alencar used her grappling in round 1 to take round 1, but then round 2, Stephanie Luciano came back, also getting out grappled in round 2, and then round 3, Luciano was just dominant on the feet, landed a takedown of her own, and Talita went 0 for 10 on takedowns. In that fight, Talita Alencar 4 for 24 on takedown, 6.5 minutes. Final scorecards were 28-28, 28-28, and 28-28. So, of course, we had a unanimous decision draw. Luciano is 24 years old, from Brazil. Of her 5 wins and 1 loss, she has 2 KOs, not been finished at all. Little 2-fight win streak for her. She has had 2 canceled bouts so far this year. I mean, they've been trying to get her to fight other people. Somehow she's wound up with the original woman that she fought in the Contender Series, Talita Alencar. Talita is 33 years old, the underdog despite being older. Born in Brazil, same country as Luciano, but now lives and trains in Florida. Of her 5 wins, she has 3 rear naked chokehold submission wins and is a BJJ master. Okay, that's her specialty, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and has really been working on the grappling so far, as we've seen. Undefeated so far, 5-0, but transitioning from Jiu-Jitsu all the time to now MMA. It's kind of a challenge in the striking department. You know, her first UFC fight beat her opponent, Rayana dos Santos. In that fight, 1 of 9 on takedowns at the end of the day. Kind of came down to her winning the final 2 rounds, which were kind of up in the air. So the striking department is not really in Talita Alencar's favor. And, you know, Luciano got the better of her last time after getting Ted-aided in round 1. This is a really big toss-up. I'm really torn because Talita Alencar, you know, I was seeing her in training on her Instagram. Really looks good. Okay, really looks good in that. Looks ready for this fight. But so is Luciano. Luciano has the reach. She's been working on her striking. Now, mind you, she hasn't fought since 2023 September. Talita hasn't fought since December 2023. So they're kind of in the same spot. I'm going to give it to the woman who is yet to make her UFC debut, Stephanie Luciano. Gets her revenge on Talita and puts her away for good. I mean, come on. She won more rounds than her. She won more rounds than her last time out. this is a toss-up. We all know how the woman fight goes to start the card. After that, we head to the men's featherweight division. By the way, only 10 matchups on this card. This could be a quick card, if I'm being honest. And, yet again, I'm now joined by another special guest on the podcast, Finnegan, my sweet little yellow lab as well. How about that? Both the dogs just love being on the podcast. This featherweight matchup features Youssef Zalal, the Moroccan Devil, as he takes on Jarno Aarons. Youssef is 14-5-1. Jarno Aarons, 14-5-1. Well, that's weird. If that isn't weird, same number of fights, same record. The matchmakers knew what they're doing. Let me just say, the UFC matchmakers are very good at their job. It's very rare they do mismatches, such as right here. This is very similar. 5'10 to 5'11. Jarno has an inch in height. He also has an inch in reach. 73 to 72. Switch stance for Youssef. Orthodox with that right hand going forward for Jarno Aarons. Let's start with the underdog here. Jarno Aarons plus 260. The 29-year-old is from Holland. One of the only Holland fighters I think I've ever seen in the UFC. Of his 14 wins, he has 3 KOs and 5 submissions. And of his 5 losses, he's only ever been submitted once. He's currently sitting at 1-2 in the UFC. Picked up a fight of the night win in March on UFC Vegas 88 or 89, I believe it was. Hebus versus Namajunas. Fought in March, one fight of the night over Stephen Wynn. But before that, losses to William Gomez, losses to Sungwoo Choi. So I'll be very interested to see how he does here, because Jarno, as much as you beat Stephen Wynn, which was Stephen Wynn's UFC debut, you're taking on the Moroccan Devil. And the Moroccan Devil, Youssef Zalal, is an absolute dog. Okay, minus 350 favorite, 27 years old. I'm sure you could guess where he was born. He was born in Morocco, but now actually lives and trains in Denver. Not at Elevation Fight Team. I think he trains at Factory Muay Thai. Currently on a 4-fight win streak. He was actually dropped from the UFC in 2022 after going 2-2-2. That's right. 2-3-1. I'm sorry. I thought he had an extra draw. No. Won 2 fights, or actually won 3 fights, lost 3 straight fights, had a draw. They cut him. Went on the independent circuit scene, picked up 3 straight wins, came back to the UFC in March of this year. Same card as Jarno Aarons' win, and got rear naked chokehold of Billy Quarantillo. Of his 14 wins, he's got 4 KOs and 7 submissions. So certainly 11 out of 14 finishes for Youssef, 8 out of 14 wins. Are finished for Jarno Aarons. And unlike being submitted as Jarno Aarons, Youssef has never been finished. He's taken on some killers in the UFC. Ian Topura, Sungwoo Choi as well, Sean Woodson. He lost to Topura in October of 2020 where he got out grappled, surprisingly. So Youssef Zalal back in action. I'm excited to see what he does. I'm definitely riding with Youssef Zalal in this matchup. And he's on a little finishing streak. 4-fight win streak, all finishes. I think he brings the pressure to Jarno Aarons. It's hard to really find an area of Jarno Aarons' game where he struggles. I'll say maybe a bit in the grappling department. So we're looking at around 2 or 3. One would be pretty bold for Youssef Zalal to get a finish. So Youssef Zalal, our official prediction for the second fight of the evening. After that, we keep it moving, guys. Keeping it moving on the prelims. 4 prelims, 6 main card matchups. Hinata Diaz will be taking on Carl Williams in this matchup at the heavyweight division. Now, let me just say I'm less than thrilled about these 2 fighting. And it's nothing personal against either of these guys. It's just the fact that unranked heavyweights are usually more than not pretty boring fights. So Carl Williams, 10-1. Hinata Diaz, 7-0. 6'4 to 6'3 does give Hinata 1 inch in height. They both have a 79-inch reach and are both in the orthodox position. These 2 are about as similar as it comes. Carl Williams, the much more experienced fighter at 10-1, is your favorite, minus 225. No nickname even for Carl's. 34 years old, currently riding a 7-fight win streak. 3-0 in the UFC, coming off of Dana White's Contender Series. Of those 10 wins, he's gotten 3 KOs and 1 sub, so he's a decision machine. He was actually born in the Virgin Islands, but now lives and trains out of Atlanta, Georgia. Carl, 3-0 in the UFC. All freaking decisions. And on the Contender Series, he won his fight by decision, only absorbing 1 significant strike, getting 11 minutes of control time. He's not exciting. Grappled Lucas Brzezic last year to a decision win. Grappled Chase Sherman most recently in March. Same card as Amanda Hebus versus Namajunas, the 3rd fighter from that event on this card. He grappled Justin Taffa, and just a brutal matchup. Carl Williams striking is nowhere near the level of some of his opponents, but his grappling is much better. So, Carl, we'll see how you do as you take on the undefeated underdog, plus 185, 7-0 Renata Diaz. 33 years old, also riding a 7-fight win streak. He is from Brazil. And by the way, of those 7 wins, all of them by finish. Undefeated, won on Dana White's Contender Series. Made his debut back at the end of April, getting a round 2 knockout of Austin Lane. My mom actually works out with Austin Lane's cousin. Fun fact enough. Renata Diaz, I don't know how your grappling is. I do see he was taken down against Austin Lane, which is pretty brutal if you ask me. But at the same time, he was able to defend 3 attempts that Austin Lane brought at him. Dana White's Contender Series, he got a 3-minute knockout, so there's not much to analyze there. With these two, there's just no real excitement. I'm not really getting any hype from them. You're either going to see Carl Williams grapple Renata Diaz to death, or Renata's going to knock him out. And it comes down to who I'm picking. We haven't gone with an underdog yet, so we're going to go with Renata Diaz. 7-0, all knockouts. Maybe finally Carl Williams will get what's coming to him and get freaking knocked out. No personal hate, Carl, but when all you do is grapple your opponents and not even in dominant occasional knockout, Curtis Blade style, people kind of get bored with you. So we'll ride with the undefeated man, Renata Diaz. And finally, we're getting to some ranked competition. Of course, there's not many ranked fighters on this card. There's actually only 4, and 2 of them, actually there's 6, I've noticed. There might be 6, but we have 4 ranked women's bantamweight on this card, 2 matchups. First one going down in your final prelim of the night as Carol Rosa, ranked number 8, takes on number 11th ranked Pan Kianziad. Weirdly enough, there's a 3-way tie in the rankings for number 8. I don't even get how that works, but hey, is what is. Women's bantamweight division, Carol Rosa 17-6, Pan Banzai Kianziad 17-8. It's pretty similar. 5'7" to 5'5" gives Kianziad 2 inches in height, but Carol Rosa takes the reach advantage, 67 inches and 66. Both women. Pardon me. Sorry, I'm stumbling over my words. I'm just so excited for this fight. Carol Rosa, favorite, minus 175. Pan Kianziad, underdog, plus 150. Carol Rosa, currently tied at number 8 with Misha Tate and Norma Dumont, is coming off a loss to Irene Aldana in December, but I won't lie. That is one of the most entertaining women's matchups I've ever seen. It was a fight of the night. It was bloody. It was brutal. It was a banger matchup. So Carol Rosa is surprisingly coming off a loss, coming in with some momentum. She's gone win-loss since October of 2021. 29 years old, from Brazil. 4 KOs and 2 subs, so 6 of 17 wins by finish. So decision machine. Of her 6 losses, she's been submitted twice. None so far in the UFC. And honestly, it's stellar UFC record of 6-3. I won't lie, 2-3 in her last 5. But, she's been fighting ranked women since she pretty much joined the UFC. I'll be interested to see how she performs against Pan Kianziad, 32 years old, was born in Iran, now lives and trains in Denmark, but wears the Swedish flag. I don't know where Pan Kianziad thinks she's from. Of her 17 wins, 3 KOs. That's right, 14 decisions. Oh my goodness. Of her 8 losses, 1 TKO and 3 submission losses. Most recently, she was submitted in March by Macy Chiasson in just under 4 minutes. Shows she's not really coming in with any momentum. Speaking of Macy Chiasson, she actually submitted her on the Ultimate Fighter finale in 2018. So, Pan Kianziad sitting at 5-5 in the UFC. This is make it break it for her at 11. Most notable fight, she's probably fought Hawkwell Pennington, your current women's champion in 2021, lost the decision. Currently on a 2-fight losing streak, hasn't won since April of 2022. I don't really know what I expect, but Carol Rosa coming in with some momentum. That's all I can ride off of. Give me Carol Rosa. Her and Irene Aldana went to war. I have never seen Pan Kianziad go to war. Maybe she will. Getting into our main card here, by the way, this bout order is always able to be shifted around. That's why we kind of just go over the whole card instead of just individual fights. But in what could potentially be the opening fight of the main card, a bantamweight matchup between Toshiyama Kazama and Charalampus Ferocious Grigogio. Amazing nicknames, might I add. Amazing nicknames. Toshiyama Kazama, 10-4. Charalampus, 8-4. Both men are 5'7", 69-inch reach to 67 for Kazama. And both men are in the orthodox fighting position. Charalampus Grigiaggio, minus 185. Toshiyama Kazama, plus 155. So let's start with the favorite here. Charalampus Grigoggio, 32 years old, born in Cyprus, around the Mediterranean area. He's no longer there. He's now in Long Island, New York. Of his 8 wins, he's gotten 6 KOs, and of his 4 losses, he's only ever been finished once. Won in the Contender Series in 2023, last season. Most recently made his debut in March against Chad Hellinger. Got outstruck in that one. Landed 4 takedowns. Couldn't really do much with it. Chad Hellinger. By the way, Chad Hellinger is not the best fighter. Okay, he's had some tough losses. Most recently, won to Jose Johnson. But Charalampus, we'll see how you do as you take on Toshiyama Kazama, 27 years old, from one of my favorite nations, Japan. He's a BJJ background, very notable. And of his 10 wins, 3 KOs and 5 submissions. Now, of his 4 losses, Toshiyama has sadly been knocked out in 3 of them. Not the prettiest sight. And this fight was actually supposed to take place on, March 16th. And now it's been rebooked for here. Toshiyama Kazama has had 2 fights in the UFC. One in February of 2023, one in August of 2023. He was knocked out in round 1 in both of those matchups. One of them in 33 seconds, which isn't too pretty. But he's looking to get back in the win column. He takes on Charalampus. I mean, these two are pretty similar. Charalampus does have 6 KOs. Toshiyama, I don't even know what to expect. I mean, he got knocked out by Garrett Armfield, who's absolutely hilarious on Twitter, by the way. Love Garrett Armfield. I got to have him on the podcast. But it's interesting. Charalampus went for a takedown approach last time against Chad. Toshiyama's never really had much success so far in the UFC. I think we're going to go with Charalampus. Okay, he's the favorite. We love our Mediterranean area. I mean, hey, I'm some part of me is Baltic. Okay, I got some of the Baltic islands in me. That's kind of in the Cyprus area, I think. I don't actually know, but when you've been knocked out twice in your last 2 fights, almost all your losses are by knockout. Yeah, I'm a ride with the other guy, who, by the way, has a 6 out of 8. What is that? 75% finish rate. How about that? Getting into our next matchup, guys. Women's bantamweight division, as number 12 ranked Yana Santos takes on number 12 ranked Chelsea Chandler. Yana Santos, the wife of former light heavyweight title challenger Thiago Santos. Yana is 14-8 with 1 no contest. Chelsea Chandler, not related to Michael Chandler, 6-2. 5'8" to 5'6" gives Chelsea 2 inches in height. Both women have a 68-inch reach. Chelsea will be in the southpaw stance. Yana Santos in the orthodox fighting position. Let's go on with the number 12 ranked Yana Santos. Yana, minus 125 is the favorite. 34 years old, from Russia. Of her 14 wins, 7 KOs and 1 submission. Of her 8 losses, though, 3 KOs and 2 subs. So 5 of her 8 losses, she's been finished. Yana's been around since 2018 when she debuted. She was known as Yana Kunitskaya before she married Thiago, and had actually main evented UFC 222 against Chris Cyborg. She got knocked out in 3 minutes and 25 seconds, but nonetheless, she did that. She would then go on a 4-1 run, only lost to Aspen Ladd, wins over Ketlin Vieira, Marina Monroe, Lena Landsberg, before running into a little skid here. She lost to Irene Aldana in 2021, lost to Holly Holm in March of last year, and most recently lost to Carol Rosa in July of 2023. Not coming in with much momentum, 3-fight losing streak, 2-4 in their last 6. This is make or break it. Maybe you'll join your husband in the PFL. And by the way, Thiago hasn't won a single fight since joining the PFL. Across from her stands the plus 105 underdog Chelsea Chandler, 33 years old, from Stockton, California. That's right, she's one of the Diaz boys, or I guess one of the Diaz girls, if you will. Of her 6 wins, half of them are by finish, 2 KOs and 1 sub. Both of her losses, she was not finished in. Debuted on my birthday in 2022. I'd have been 20 years old, and she got a round 1 TKO over Julija Stoilanko. Then in July of 2023, she would lose a decision to Norma Dumont, but would bounce back in March of 2024, beating Josiane Nunes, who for some reason has a UFC A5 character, not even ranked, Chelsea Chandler, Yana Santos, who both are much better than her, are not in the game. That's fairly perplexing to me, if I'm being honest. I don't really understand that, but Chelsea Chandler coming off a win over Josiane Nunes. Yana Santos hasn't won in forever. I mean, I don't even know if Yana Santos can fight, for goodness sakes. Chelsea Chandler is an absolute monster when it comes to these Apex fights. I think she gets it done. Yana probably followed in her husband's footsteps, and she's probably going bye-bye to the UFC. Getting into our next matchup, it is a short notice matchup between, actually they changed the bout order around on me, but we'll talk about this fight right now. Danny Barlow versus Nikola Valentinnikov. Danny Barlow was supposed to take on Uros Medic, an absolute killer in the welterweight division, but Uros, unfortunately getting hurt, having to pull out, in will step Nikola Valentinnikov, who is the underdog at plus 230. Danny Barlow, the rising prospect, minus 280. Very exciting fighters here. Danny, left hand to God. Barlow, 8-0. Nikola, 12-4. 6'2 to 6'1 gives Danny 1 inch in height. He also has 4 inches in reach, 79 inches to 75. Southpaw stance. If you couldn't tell by his name, his left hand will send you to God, because apparently knocking you out. Orthodox stance for Nikola. So, Danny Barlow, the favorite, coming off of Dana White's Contender Series in 2023. I mean, he beat Josh Quinlan. TKO'd him in round number 3 back in February. Great debut. The 29-year-old from Tennessee has 5 KOs and 1 submission, all, in his undefeated career at 8-0. Impressive stuff so far from Danny Barlow. He's looked good and performed well. We'll see how he does, man. He takes on the underdog in this situation, Nikola Valentinnikov, plus 230, as we mentioned, 34 years old, born in Kazakhstan, now trains in California, riding a little 3-fight win streak. Of his 12 wins, 9 KOs and 1 sub. Of his 4 losses, he's been finished in 2 of them. He actually has fought under the UFC banner before, back in Season 5 of Dana White's Contender Series in 2021. He actually lost by decision to Michael Morales. Got out-grappled in that one, so nice to see you back here, Nikola. Don't really know what you've been up to on the independent scene, but Danny's been killing it. He's riding some momentum. He's a minus 280 favorite. Give me Danny Barlow. It's these Apex cards. They're so unpredictable. Either of these fights, I'm going to look back and be like, oh, that was such an obvious pick. But at the end of the day, who knows what you're going to get with a lot of these ones. Coming up next, bantamweight matchup, another short notice one between Chris Gutierrez coming in at, this is the favorite, as he takes on Kwang Bang Lee. Kwang Lee stepping in to replace Javid Basharat. Javid, unfortunately, pulling from this fight. Chris Gutierrez, El Guapo, his nickname, 26-2. 20 wins, 6 losses, 2 draws. Kwang Lee, 8-0. 8-0 for Kwang Lee. 5'9" for Chris, 5'6" for Kwang Lee. 70-inch reach for Kwang Lee, 67 inches for Chris Gutierrez. Both men are in the orthodox fighting position. So, first off, Chris Gutierrez, the former ranked bantamweight. He has now been bounced from the rankings for being on a little losing streak here, but looking to get back on the momentum track. The 33-year-old, born in Texas, now lives and trains in Denver. Of his 20 wins, 9 KOs and 1 submission. Of his 6 losses, he's only ever been submitted once. How about that? Chris has had a pretty stellar run in the UFC, and as of late, he's knocked out Frankie Edgar, knocked out Batargal Dana, holds a win over Alatenge. That was his last win in October, but he is sitting at 1-2. Decision losses to Pedro Munoz and Song Yadong. Just got beaten both of those. And he's just seemed kind of average, if you ask me. And when he lost to Pedro Munoz, that was a humbling experience for him. Took a short notice fight against Alatenge, which, didn't really do much for him because that guy kind of sucks. We'll see how he does. Another short notice fight here, but he's taking on a guy, guys. Okay, he's taking on a guy in Kwang Lee, born in Vietnam, 32 years old, now trains and resides in Minnesota, guys. That's right. Of his 8 wins, 2 KOs and 3 subs. He was supposed to fight in the Contender Series later in the year in the fall, but instead they're like, hey, do you want to fight now? And Kwang Lee was like, yes, I do. His nickname's Bang. 5 of his 8 wins by finish. Yeah, give me Kwang Lee. There's no fun picking Chris Gutierrez. Okay, Chris Gutierrez is the safe pick. All right, that's the safe pick right there. Kwang Lee, that's the fun pick. All right, and if you're going to fight on Dana White's Contender Series, they trust you enough to fight a guy ranked in the UFC, who used to be ranked. So, Chris, he's getting knocked out. He's getting stunned. He's going to be finished for the first time in his career by knockout. Kwang Bang Lee is coming to do exactly that, to bang you. Kind of aggressive. Your co-main event is one of the weakest co-main events of all time, but unfortunately, that's just what you have. As the underdog, Chepe Mariscal will take on the favorite Chepe Mariscal will take on the underdog, Damon Jackson. Of course, this fight was not really supposed to actually happen. Chepe Mariscal was supposed to take on Dan Ige, but instead Dan Ige was like, hey, I'll fight Diego Lopez on 4 hours notice. So instead, he was booked with Damon Jackson for this card. Damon the Leech Jackson, 23-6 with 1 draw and 1 no contest. Chepe Machine Gun Mariscal, 16-6 with 1 no contest. 5'11" to 5'7" gives Damon 4 inches in height. And he has 2 inches to reach, 71 inches to 69. A switch stance for the submission specialist in Damon Jackson. Orthodox position for Chepe Mariscal. The favorite, Chepe Mariscal, 31 years old from Denver, riding a 6-fight winning streak. Of his 16 wins, 7 KOs and 3 subs. Of his 6 losses, though, he's been KO'd 3 times. Like I mentioned, supposed to fight Dan Ige. This guy's been a killer since he entered the UFC. Great fights with Trevor Peek, Jack Jenkins, most recently in April, had a fight of the night against Morgan Cherie. Dude, this guy can swing. He hits hard. He hits powerful. I'm excited to see how he performs as he takes on the plus 200 underdog Damon the Leech Jackson. No, I don't know why they call him the Leech. It's because the 35-year-old from Dallas has 4 KOs and 15 submissions. 15 submissions. Wow. Absolutely crazy. So, of his 23 wins, 19 finishes. We love to see that. We just love to see that. Now, of his 6 losses, he's been KO'd 5 times. All right, he's been KO'd 5 times, so not the best. I mean, holds some losses to Yancy Medeiros, Ian Topura, Dan Ige, Billy Quarantillo, but also wins over Mirsad Bektic, Charles Rosa, Pat Sabatini. Most recently, beat Alexander Hernandez in April. So, not too long ago. Did win by split decision. Look, Damon Jackson, most probably famously known for some of the knockouts. Dan Ige put him out cold. He's been knocked out dead cold by Ian Topura. Magomed Markadinov in the PFL knocked him out with a knee. So, not coming in with the biggest momentum-wise. So, we're definitely riding with the machine gun Chepe Mariscal. I've seen all these guys' last few fights. Chepe is loaded up. Damon's chin is not the strongest. He's been dropped twice in his last 3 fights. Yeah. Come on. Feed me Chepe Mariscal. This dude's a killer. And for being 60-6, fights like he's undefeated. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we get to our main event. Easy money, guys. Easy money today when it comes to our predictions. It's a 10-fight Apex card. Nothing special. We head to the men's heavyweight division as the number 8 ranked Marcin Tybura takes on the number 9 ranked Sergey Spivak. Yeah. Marcin is plus 100. Sergey is minus 120. They're essentially both favorites. I mean, there's just not really a distinction between these two. Marcin Tybura, 25-8. Nickname is Tiber. Sergey the Polar Bear. Sergey Polar Bear Spivak, 16-4. Both men are 6'3". Both men have a 78-inch reach, and both men stand in the orthodox position. The only big difference is the age here. Marcin Tybura, 38. Sergey Spivak, 29. Marcin Tybura from Poland. 8 KOs and 8 submissions for him in his career. So 16 finishes and 25 wins. Not too shabby. Of his 8 losses, he's been KO'd 5 times. Never been submitted. Currently at 3-1 in his last 4, coming off a round 1 submission over Tai Tuivasa in a fight night main event in March of this year. Got performance bonus for that. And his only other losses before that are to Tom Aspinall and Alexander Volkov. I mean, Marcin Tybura's had a pretty good run in the UFC. Been around since 2016. I mean, this guy's fought Tim Johnson, Andrei Arlovsky, Fabricio Verdum, Derek Lewis, Stefan Struve, Augusto Sakai. These two have actually fought in February of 2020, and Marcin Tybura won that matchup. But a lot changes in 4 years. We'll see what happens. Marcin coming in with some momentum. Like I said, he's hit or miss. His fights are always average. You never know what you're going to get. The Polar Bear, Sergey Spivak, is unfortunately coming in off a loss. He was born in the Republic of Moldova. Very interesting. 7 KOs and 7 submissions to his name. 14 finishes for the Polar Bear in his 16 wins. Of his 4 losses, he's been TKO'd 3 times. Most recently to Cyril Gahn in a main event last September. Got TKO'd in round 2, but before that, 3-fight winning streak, all finishes. This dude can submit you. This dude can, beat you to death. His only losses in the UFC: Walt Harris 2019, Marcin Tybura 2020, Tom Aspinall 2021, Cyril Gahn 2023. So, holds wins over Derek Lewis, Greg Hardy, Alexei Oleinik, Tai Tuivasa. Yeah. This one's up in the air, but I'm really feeling a Sergey Spivak submission here, guys. I don't know what it is about these two competitors, but Sergey Spivak is just speaking to me. And, when Marcin Tybura fights, I'm not too particularly interested, I'm sorry, Marcin. You're very sweet. The only real difference here is the age gap. I mean, they're just so similar, Certainly a higher finish rate for Sergey Spivak. Marcin is much more prone to go the distance compared to Sergey Spivak. I mean, Sergey's been the distance 3 times in the UFC. Hasn't been the distance since 2021. Well, majority of his fights end in round 1. Meanwhile, you got Marcin Tybura, who has somehow wound up to get finished in round 1 last year and then get a round 1 finish this year. Never know what you're going to get, but we're going to ride with the Sergey Polar Bear Spivak. So that's all we got for today's episode. We got a lot more fun ones coming to you, including a special guest interview this week, a return of our most famous guest, if you will, when it comes to popularity from downloads, that is. So thank you all so much for joining me. I know Rich Dad Poor Dad took up a large portion of this, but that book is really so important, and I'm so excited to put what I've learned in it to practice. As always, guys, I will catch you next time on the Surprise Jab Podcast.